Yo, welcome. Fancy to see you guys here. What is going on? I'm Randall Thor 19, the man with the million. As I check to make sure that everything sounds okay and everything's muted, and I don't want to get any feedback from anywhere. So hopefully everything works well. It's been a while since we podcasted with Jez, so we are here. Yes, there is no sound because both our trailer and our starting soon music have been mass copyright claimed, and I'm tired of dealing with it. So Jez is we have some new music being custom made for us. So, and by the way, Jez is here. So
hello. We did license the music, but the company that we licensed the music from doesn't seem to want to accept that without constantly telling them, yeah, we licensed this. So rather than have to deal with that every single week, we're going to get some bespoke music made. So that should be fun. But yes, I'm here. I'm back. Sorry for the delay. It's my fault. Well, I say it's my fault, but really, it's Xbox Era's fault.
Is it?
That the show's delayed. Yes.
Throw John under the bus, dude. Just do it.
John Sicky Mechanico got every single Xbox content creator sick with COVID.
Unbelievable.
Every single one. No. Well, John was patient zero, apparently. But yeah, a bunch of journalists and content creators and YouTubers all got COVID from the show. So I'm not 100%. I'm about 85% right now.
Yeah, and we were gonna do the show Friday, but you were like, I'm dying. Could you do it with other people? And I'm like, I asked a few other people, and they were all busy because you had given me like an hour heads up notice that you couldn't do it. I was like, we're just gonna cancel the show and we'll do it Monday or whatever.
Yeah, I was trying, man, but I just couldn't, man. But like, I've tested negative now for a couple of days, but I still don't feel 100%. But yeah, that was all fun and games. It was not fun traveling 20 hours with that sort of fever and whatever hanging over you. But you know, what you gonna do? You kind of can't. You can't not travel when you have to. But we did it. We got back home. We did Summer Game Fest. We did the Xbox Showcase, and there's just so much to talk about. We're going to get into a lot of it this week, this episode, and then get into some more of it next week.
Yes, because
episode.
We got Fridays still, because this is obviously a makeup for not doing the show on Friday. We had to do this show because, I mean, it was the Xbox Game Showcase, and I don't think you have given your thoughts at all outside of what you may have said on Twitter. And I actually made some videos.
Yeah, you made some videos.
I made some videos.
You were so you were so hyped from the show. You actually made. Well,
you had been begging me to make videos for a while. Yeah. You're like, come on, dude, just make some videos, and I'm like, it's not like your articles that you can just get done in 10 minutes. These take some time.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, so here we are. We're gonna be talking mostly about the showcase and some other sort of things, and then we'll have another show on Friday. But we also are planning on having because everything was kind of screwed up this month because of Jez leaving to go rub shoulders with the bigwigs of the gaming industry. He's out there with Paris. He's out there with Danny Pena. He's out there with Cody Eastwood. He's out there with. I mean, who else did you see? Who else of the gaming space? I mean, name them.
There's so many people there. King was there. Cognito was there. Some people in the chat were there. Probably Paris was there, of course. You mentioned Paris. I saw Mike Minotti from VentureBeat and Jeff Grubb's podcast and stuff like that. So many cool people, and loads of people came up and said hi. It was awesome. It was so cool just meeting so many people. I mean, that's always the best thing about these shows is just the people you meet. All the friends that from all across the world that you only speak to online, all converging in one place, you know. And a load of people were saying to me, Rand,
Mm.
why isn't Rand here?
No,
Where's Rand?
nobody was
Just
saying.
get Rand here.
Nobody was saying that. Come on now.
Yeah, they
You don't. You
were.
don't
Ask
need.
Paris. Paris in the chat. Ask him. Look, Cognito is there, and he's saying, "Where's Rand? We got to get Rand in next time." You know. I was like, "Yeah, where's Rand?" And I said, "You know, he's got a bad back." He tells me. Rand's just chilling, like reading his books.
Yeah. Nah, no, nobody was there. I don't believe it. You know, was Dreamcast guy there?
Oh, no. Dreamcast guy. I don't know. But nah, there was just tons of familiar faces there, from across the sphere, the entire industry. One of the coolest things about the Xbox show, though, this year, was the fact that it brought together content creators from across Xbox's subsidiaries. So there was loads of Fallout content creators there, like Mrs. Fallout was there herself.
I have no idea. I have no idea who Mrs. Fallout is.
Well, she just crossed 1 million subscribers on YouTube. So
okay, huge.
Mrs. Fallout, yeah, check out her channel. She's a big Fallout collector. She collects loads of Fallout merchandise, and she does Fallout cosplays and stuff like that. And her videos are great. So YouTube shorts a lot of the time. So she's got 1 million subscribers on YouTube. So it was cool meeting her. But then there was also like a lot of Call of Duty content creators and streamers were there as well. And then also World of Warcraft and Blizzard content creators there as well. And it was just like, oh my god, we've got like a convergence of Bethesda content creators, Xbox content, because all the Xbox content creators there, like me and Cole Eastwood and stuff like that. And then like there was loads of Call of Duty streamers, and I was just like, it's so cool that all these different communities are now sort of coming together under the Xbox umbrella, right? And it sort of really slammed home how big of a platform Xbox has now, and all these different sort of creators are all sort of working with and around Xbox now. And it just sort of gave me a vision of like this Xbox is a much bigger platform than it was 10 years ago when I first started doing this, It's just crazy, man. It's crazy. But at the end of the day, it's all about the games. And thank God, because I kind of feel like Xbox delivered when it comes to games more so than ever before at this year's showcase.
That's why,
more so than ever.
Yeah, that's why everybody's hyped. That's why, Paris was right when he said that this was going to be a 9.5 in his prediction show. That kind of led to his villain arc on Twitter. Because people were just being like, all right, well, now's the time because you have all these incredible studios and they've all been working on stuff for a while, and it's like about time they start showing more than just CGI trailers. And we got that. So there have been a lot of the sentiments and the positivity surrounding this showcase was more than I had ever expected. I kept on getting recommended like random people who were like watch this show for reactions, and it was just like, oh my god, this was the coolest thing ever. Like even people that you would normally think would ride the gravy train of negative Xbox clickbait or news or what have you, because that is a thriving business, as we know. Very much on we're saying how well it was, and maybe that's also a case of Summer Games Fest and the State of Play being kind of disappointing to a certain extent. We probably won't talk too much about Summer Games Fest. I actually turned it off after an hour, Jez. The first time I've really turned off a Jeff Keighley show, after an hour, I was like, this is pretty bad. And I
was on live blog duty through that, and honestly, by the end of it, I was pretty exhausted, and because I wasn't, I was just like, I kind of like the look of a lot of games in the show, but it was so long, it was so long. I kind of feel like, and like when I was sitting there live blogging it, which means I was sort of like I was writing it as it happened, and I was just like, man, this is just so long. Yeah, I think a lot of people feel the same way about it, that it was just too damn long. But you know, I think you'll probably have learned something from the feedback from that. But this is one of the weird things about gaming right now. It's just that there's so much content. There's so many games that are like at least hitting a decent quality bar, and it's like, where do you fit them all? You know, like was this Xbox show was longer than usual too. Like when you even without the Call of Duty Direct,
No,
and
actually,
then you
no,
no,
not really. No, it was an hour and 15 minutes. I mean,
it felt longer. I don't know what. Maybe it
it
just
was like an
felt longer because there was
hour.
so much
Yeah,
stuff.
some of their other E3 shows were hour 30, hour 40, without
Fair
any
enough.
direct. In fact, like the
Yeah,
last.
I suppose a lot of the shows like got ended up being longer because they had segments in them, like there was a car in them, or some influences in them, or some kind of
Sure.
presentation. But like I don't know. But even still, there's stuff like the PC Game Show and the Cozy Games Direct now, and the Devolver Direct show, and it just feels like there's just so many different shows all back to back now during that week. Even like Ubisoft had a good show this year, which is rare, but I don't know.
I think that depends
But
on
yeah,
who you talk to.
yeah, I suppose so. But that's true of everything, right? It's true of every show. Um, Depends on who you talk to. There's like plenty of people who were salty about the Xbox show. You know, I've seen some salt about Xbox show. There's a bit of it in the chat. You know, some people saying where were the release dates and stuff like that. You know, but but I think overall it was a good event. You know, for
Yeah.
Xbox, and also like the Summer Game Fest live stream was not that spectacular, but the Summer Game Fest show itself, like on the ground in LA, was pretty good. And I've got some, I went hands on with a lot of the games there, so we'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah, so welcome everybody. This is episode, I believe it's 320. I'm your host, Rand 19. We got Jez Corden, Windows Central here. We're going to give our thoughts about everything that's happened in the past week. Could you guys do us a huge favor? Hit the like button. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel for more content and live streams. If you want to buy something from Manscaped, you can always do so. Get 20% off with code XB2. We also have the wonderful patrons, right, Jez?
Yes, we do.
Which we are doing a Xbox 2+1 tomorrow.
Yep.
I guess we'll wait till tomorrow to announce it, just to make sure, because I don't want to announce something and then it not happen, right? So
yeah, I think we're gonna do it. Yeah.
So we should be doing a show tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. I'm sure Jez will post the details on Patreon when everything's sort of finalized. But we do have a show tomorrow. Should be a lot of fun. Should be very interesting discussion. It's someone that a lot of people have asked for. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. And yeah, I think we even have Paris coming on the week after. So I was talking to Paris because I was like, you know what, we had Paris on last year, and I figured like, well, let's get Paris's thoughts a year later. Plus, I want to talk to him about his villain arc. So I think we're gonna have Paris on Xbox 2+1 next week, but we do have someone lined up for tomorrow. So it should be a lot of fun. So. If you want to subscribe to that, get early access and all that stuff, you can do that at patreon.com/xb2. We got some shout-outs to get into. So we got Sir Allure, Xbox Dave, Jay Peltier, Thurgus, Christian, The Password, Holy Dark Death, Steve Stompy, James Wiseau, Trixar for Trey, Battered Haddock, Army Dude 52C, Ryan Kipple, Foreign Object, Mythic Marty, Moronic Donkey 99, Randall Thor 19, Silas, Eric Gregory, James Moore, Fantasticals, Katriox, Bright Tundra 1, Trent Super is everyone's Fallout Daddy, Justin Duell, Frank Mariano, PB Broking, Asa T and Madison, Governor Grimm, DZ Huffin, Achievement, The Scarecrow 121, Darren Trophy, Prof JJJ, Ghostface Killer, and Wolfgang KPZ. Thank you guys so much for all the support that you show us. every single month. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and that list of shout-outs needs to be updated. I apologize
Yes.
for it not being
You're just
updated,
so
but
busy
that'll
and so
definitely be
sick.
updated.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been busy and I've been sick, but that Patreon list will definitely be updated from tomorrow, when we do the XB2 plus one show or whatever kind of show it turns out to be. But yes, thanks to everyone who
So,
subscribes
Jez,
on Patreon.
I mean,
Yo, yes.
how many times have you had COVID at this point?
This is the second time
Is this
I've
the
had it.
second time?
The first time, it just sort of it just vanished. I had it for like a day, and it wasn't bad at all. But I think the fact that like I had it this time while
While
like
you were there, right?
it really ramped up while I was traveling, and I didn't eat or drink on the flight because I don't eat or drink when I'm flying because I don't like having to get up out of the chair. I think that made it 10 times worse because when I actually got back to Germany, I felt like a corpse, and so yeah, I think that made it worse. But like, even still, like a couple of days, and I'm testing negative for it. But yeah, it kicked my ass, man. I had a really bad throat. It manifested mostly in my throat and my sinuses and stuff. Like you can hear it in my voice, right?
Yes, I can hear it in your
I
voice.
feel fine. I just feel fine. I just sound kind of bad.
Yeah.
But we'll get there. We'll get there.
So I guess, is there anything you want to talk about before we talk about what happened at the showcase? Do you want to talk about Lego Horizon Adventures coming to Switch and not Xbox? I mean, that happened. That happened
Man, that was
on
funny.
Friday. I don't know if you want to talk about that for a little bit. I mean, that's probably the big thing that happened at Summer Games Fest. Is
I mean, it's just weird to me. It's just really weird to me because like, if the developers were saying, oh, like it was a natural fit for Nintendo Switch, and Microsoft's kind of done this too with Ori and stuff, but it just seems so damn petty to me. It just seems so petty and kind of short-sighted as well. I mean, it doesn't really strike me as a game that's, gonna move the needle like in any direction. So like if your goal is to make it as profitable as possible, you should probably put it on the platform where Roblox was exclusive for God knows how long, right? But I don't know, man. What do I know? Sony definitely doesn't want any of their IP to appear on Xbox.
clearly, I mean,
But it just seems like such a petty and short-sighted thing, especially when Xbox is, moving their games to PlayStation. But it is what it is, It's going to be weird, man. If we end up in a situation where like Xbox and PlayStation support the Switch 2 more aggressively and just exclude each other. Well, Xbox isn't going to exclude PlayStation, but Sony ends up just excluding Xbox. It's just a strange thing, man. But I think like PlayStation, they just see one of their growth vectors. They just see taking players away from Xbox as one of their growth vectors and one of their potential ways to grow. So that's why they do it. It just sort of, will that actually work? I don't think it will, but whatever. We'll see.
One, I was kind of, when I saw the trailer and I was like, oh, it's coming to the Switch, I was like, man, Sony really doesn't want anything of theirs on Xbox. They are petty, for sure. And then I was thinking like, all right, well, I think you even made the point on Twitter, like, if you're going to put it on Switch, why won't you put it on the PS4? Right, half of your audience
that was the weirdest part of this, really.
But like, is it though? Is it really?
I think it is.
I don't know, because I think Sony's clearly made an internal move to none of their first party studios or partner games are on the PS4 anymore, and I think that happened with Spider-Man 2. If you look at ever since Spider-Man 2's come out, anything they've released since then has only been on PS5. Like, I think they basically made the internal decision that whatever games they're coming out from this point forward are only on PS5. I don't think it's anything more than that. It's just like everything's just for PS5 at this point. There's nothing for PS4, and if we want to expand our audience, we'll go to the Switch. You know? Because, like, the 3 games they released this year, Helldivers, which you would imagine you would want a bigger audience, that only came out on PS5. You know, considering it's a games as a service, you figured maybe you want, like, the entirety of the PlayStation audience, but they cut off the PS4 too, so I think it's just, you know, like Xbox, they made the choice, like, from this point forward, it's all just going to be the current gen, no more last gen. I mean, you look at Xbox, and everything since Redfall has been current gen. They've left it off Xbox One.
Yeah, but I kind of feel like they're cutting their nose off to spite their face here, because it's like that's just like it's an arbitrary restriction. Because at the end of the day, this is a Lego game, like literally a Lego game, not like Halo, which is when I joke is a Lego game. This is actually a Lego game. And if your goal is to actually make this profitable, then you should put it where the people are. And half the players are on PlayStation, and more to the point, I think most of your younger players are probably on PlayStation as well. PlayStation 4, because they don't really care to upgrade because all they're playing is Fortnite. So I don't know. It just, to me, it's just an arbitrary. Oh, we're not supporting last gen anymore. Like, why the fuck not? You know, you don't do that on PC. You know.
No, but you do it on console though. You do it on console.
Yeah, well, maybe that's why console's fucking dying, man. The PC's taking all the market share.
Is it though?
Man. Yeah.
It doesn't seem to be the case, Jez.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's one platform that's growing and one platform that ain't.
Which platform is the one that's growing and one that's not?
Well, PC's growing and console isn't. I mean, just overall, console isn't growing that much.
Interesting.
Flat.
Well, wait till the Switch 2 comes out, baby.
Yeah, I mean, will that make it grow, or will it just sell to the people who've already got a Switch? I don't know.
Interesting. Anyways, I figured we'd talk about that. I think maybe the only other thing noteworthy is I forget the name of the game, the Wukong game, that has kind of been embroiled in some culture war. Is not coming to Xbox on day one, unfortunately. So
no, isn't that weird? See, now that's weird.
Is it?
That's an interesting. Yeah, I think that's an interesting story.
Well, do you think there's anything behind it? I mean, because they mentioned on their website that they're delaying it because of optimization issues.
Yeah,
didn't say what exactly what it's for.
That's sure what they say.
Are you implying something differently?
Oh, I'm not implying anything, bro.
I mean, you sort of have this tone of voice that something else might be the reason why it's not.
I just got COVID, bro. I'm not applying anything. I sound weird just because I got COVID, man. But yeah, it's they say it's for optimization issues, and not because they've taken a temporary exclusivity deal, on the down low. But it's weird that like when I email their PR and say, can you clarify what optimization issues there are? There's no reply. It's very strange. Very, very strange. But it is what it is. It did get loads of positive previews today. IGN, PC Gamer, and we were invited to do a preview of it as well. But I was just like, I literally cannot fit this in because I'm going to be in LA. So like the previews were sort of, if we had a bigger team, we would have been able to do it. But there was just no way I was going to be able to go from LA to the UK and then back to Germany. So we ended up not being able to fit it in. But the previews are quite positive. I've seen people describe it as a sort of a boss rush kind of game,
right?
Almost.
Yeah. Not a Souls-like.
Not a Souls-like.
Those type of games are like essentially a dime a dozen nowadays. Dime a dozen. Everybody, seems like there's a new Souls-like being announced every other month.
Well, I feel some developers are kind of like, we want to emphasize that this is not a Souls-like now.
Yes.
I've seen Phantom Blade Zero, for example, which that very, very cool looking sort of, People were comparing it to Sekiro because it's got the stagger bar and stuff
or like
like
Devil
that.
May Cry, right?
Yeah,
Essentially combo based.
Yeah, and they've kind of come back and like wanted to, because everyone was saying, "Oh, it's a Souls-like," but they've come back and been like, "No, we're not a Souls-like. We are not a Souls-like." Because a lot of people see the word Souls-like and they're just like, "Oh God, that means it's going to be brutally difficult. It means I can't play it," you know. Because a lot of people just don't, you know, like Souls-likes or feel like don't have the patience for them and stuff like that. I'm probably amongst those kinds of people, you know. But I did reinstall Elden Ring recently, Rand, and I
I
booted up
see
my
you've been playing
save.
that.
Huh?
I've seen you been playing that because the Shadow of the Erdtree is coming out, and you have to get to a certain boss. You have to beat a certain
Yeah, you have to
boss.
kill Moog. Yeah, you have to kill Moog. I'm actually fairly close to the boss I need to kill. I couldn't remember how far I'd gotten into it, and apparently I'm further into it than I thought I was. I'm just about to fight Morgott again, or was it Margit? I can't remember his name. I'm in the Golden Tree City place, but yeah. I I often feel like I don't have the patience for these kind of games, and a lot of other people don't as well. But like you say, everyone's trying to make a Souls-like now. Lords of the Fallen 2 has been announced,
Yes,
for
Lords of the
example.
Fallen 2, 2026, published
Did you
by
play?
Epic. I did not play.
Did you know?
No.
Did anyone in chat play Lords of the Fallen?
I mean, I think it was okay. It's on Game Pass right now. Came to Game Pass.
Yeah. Maybe the sequel will come as well. I mean, Game Pass is kind of cool for Souls like, because it's like, well, I can try this without spending all the money, right? Lies of P was what I did play. Lies of P was fantastic, but again, it was another one of them. Don't have time to play at the moment. Man, it sucks. I just don't have time to play anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. It's weird, man. It's weird. Like the sort of when I first started doing this job, I had all the time in the world to play. And the more sort of responsibilities you take on, the less time you have time to actually play any games. It's weird.
It's true. Let me get to a couple of these super chats. We got Don Otaku with the 2. Achievements were a mistake. Admit it, Rand. Here it is, Don slandering achievements like he was on Twitter. And the thing is, he's a Nintendo guy. So I'm not surprised a Nintendo guy would take the stance about achievements because Nintendo doesn't offer their fans any sort of,
Anything.
anything essentially in that area. You know, PlayStation's got trophies, Xbox has achievements, Steam has their own sort of thing too, achievements. So I'm not surprised, Nintendo, Don Otaku would take the stance that there were a mistake. But the thing is, he's upset because it makes you do or play games that you normally wouldn't play just for gamerscore. That sounds like a you problem, bro. You don't have to play those games. If you feel like you're entrapped that you have to play games to get gamerscore, then you've fallen into the trap. There are plenty of people that don't. There are plenty of people that don't care about achievements that just exist. You just admit that you were hoodwinked. You were bamboozled. You were led astray. You played and bought some games that you didn't want to play because you wanted to increase that, digital score. Hey, I'll be the first one to admit, so did I. It was like a metagame for me. I loved playing video games. I played as many as I could. I loved seeing that number go up. I played so much that essentially I was in the top 50 and then the top 10. So, no, they're not a mistake. And you can easily ignore them. You don't have to play stuff you don't want to play, Don Otaku. You're essentially shirking your personal responsibility. But I wouldn't expect less from a Nintendo fan. So.
Oh man, you really went there.
Yeah.
Well, Nintendo fans are celebrating right now because their podcast, their showcase, just got announced. Their podcast, the next state of what are they called?
Nintendo Direct is tomorrow. Yes. Nintendo announces it the day before, and it's at 7 a.m. Pacific because they don't they don't care about the time zones. Right, it's all about what's good for the time over in Japan. So they're like, hey, all you Nintendo fans that want to see the next iteration of Zelda and Mario and whatever else, wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning to come check it out.
That's their biggest market, though, isn't it?
Hey, man. Nintendo, they know what they're doing.
Do.
Yeah. Donataku's,
I mean,
he's going to be up at 7 o'clock in the morning live tweeting all this stuff, you know?
Do you think we finally get Metroid Prime 4?
Ooh. I mean, seems like it's... I don't know. I would say it seems like it's now or never, but there's always the Switch 2. You think they're going to announce the Switch 2?
How long has it been?
God, I forget when.
2017,
maybe? I forget.
I want to say that I'm sure I saw a tweet, and someone in chat can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure I saw a tweet that Nintendo would confirm there won't be a Switch 2 there. Or maybe I'm wrong.
I think they could maybe announce the name. I don't. Yeah, I don't
it's gonna be called the Switch 2, surely.
I mean, surely it would be. I mean, some people are pushing for a Super Nintendo Switch. I think that would bomb. If they called it that thing would bomb like the Wii U. Because you'd have
it has to be called the Switch 2, because people are just...
Yes.
They get confused if it's not simple, you know.
Just like they were confused with the Xbox names. Absolutely.
The next Xbox will probably be called the Xbox iteration 4.07 or something like that. Like, Microsoft's so bad at naming products. They are literally the worst at naming products. They can't even name like updates to Windows and stuff. I don't know why they're so bad at this. But yeah. Well, do you think they, on that topic for a moment, do you think the next Xbox they'll call it the Xbox Series S2? Do you think that could finally have a simple naming convention?
I mean, isn't that the whole point of having it called the Xbox Series? Is that you could just essentially do Xbox Series X, Xbox Series X2, Xbox Series X3? Isn't that the whole point of it?
You'd think that, Rand, but this is Microsoft we're talking about.
It is Microsoft, yes.
And they don't like simple name. I wonder what chat thinks. What does chat think about this?
I mean, you would think that would be the case.
If they do announce Metroid Prime 4, I might have to dust off my Nintendo Switch, which has been languishing in a drawer for a very, very long time.
Languishing. What a word. Good word.
Yeah, it's
Good
languishing.
Yes.
Just no reason to use it.
I mean, my Nintendo Switch has been languishing as well. It is hasn't been plugged into an outlet in God knows how long. It's just a dust collector. It's actually sitting right behind me on my shelf, just sitting there. You know, all the kind of cords all wrapped up. Because what do I need it for? Just languishing, like Donataku. You know what I mean?
Oh man. There's just so much. There's just too much to play. I can't fit a Switch in either into my life.
We got Alvin.
Backlog PC's crazy as well.
With the 5, the delay backlash is 100 times worse than the no release backlash. In my opinion, they shouldn't give firm dates until the game goes gold. I guess, you know, when we talk about the showcase, there is some criticism you can give. And that is lack of release dates in some of their biggest games that are supposed to come out this year. Like, if a game's 2025, I don't expect them to give a date. Because why would you? You don't know. You don't even know if the game might hit 2025, let alone release any sort of a date. You know, nobody gives date that far in advance anymore. So for the games that have 2025, like Fable and South of Midnight and Doom, there's no reason to actually give a release date yet. Just a generic 2025. Hey, we got 12 months. Could be any one of these months. But I think people expected a release date for Starfield DLC, the Shattered Space. I think they expected it for Avowed and Indiana Jones. We had seen 2 of those at the Dev Direct in January. So we thought, okay, we'll see it again in June, and they'll update us on the release date. We didn't get them. And I think maybe that's sort of the only criticism you can give, is that 2 of your biggest games of the fall season still have a nebulous 2024 on it. Which, nebulous. I mean, there's plenty of chances coming out in the future, like Gamescom, which the one and only Paris has said to, you know, get hype about Gamescom, apparently. Which, no one ever gets hype for Gamescom, but maybe this is the Gamescom to get hyped on. That Xbox has.
Gamescom is like... The cool thing about Gamescom is the in-person event, because there's just so much there. Like it's such a huge convention. Like you can't appreciate how big that is. There's so many halls and so many booths and stuff like that. But usually it's like it's all about the in-person event, and there's just not much there in terms of live streams and stuff like that. But maybe this year's going to be different.
Maybe. I mean, they do have a lot they could have shown. Apparently, we could get release dates for stuff, so maybe they hold off on some of that stuff, right? We'll see. As at least according to Tom Warren's rumors, Avowed's supposed to be in November, and a release date did leak from Obsidian themselves that it was November 12th, but that was deleted. Okay. And I think Tom had said that Indiana Jones was targeting December, which makes you wonder why December. December normally isn't a time frame where you would want to release a game, especially a game that big. Indiana Jones is going to be big, or at least it should be big. It makes you wonder, it's like, okay, well, we can't hit November, clearly, because if you could, you would. And it's like, do they just need it out for 2024 for some reason?
Is there a reason?
Is there a reason? Or it's like, would it be better served to like delay it and be like, hey, January or March? It's like they seem to be like, no, we want this game this year so we can have it for whatever reason. I don't know. But we have the Magic Hodo 421 with the $2. Randy, you checking out Still Wakes the Deep? Absolutely. A horror game set on an oil rig? Absolutely, I'll be checking that out.
Yeah, I've installed that as well. I was actually planning to get footage for this show, but then I remembered we're going to stream the event, so yes. I'll get some footage for that over the weekend.
It's got some pretty good reviews, so I'm looking forward to that. Big Afroman with the 5. Did you guys see Sean Layden's reaction to Phil's slimy comment? Also, that Jeff CGI comment on Gears of War E-Day, it seemed mean-spirited from him. Yeah, I did see Sean Layden didn't appreciate, I guess, what Phil said in his interview with IGN about slimy platform practices, which Xbox engaged in with Call of Duty. And then PlayStation, I think, took it even a step further, not just with Call of Duty, but with more things, Destiny, Hogwarts, right? They were essentially not only being like, all right, well, you have to wait a month to get this DLC. They were locking stuff down. Like in Destiny, I remember it was like weapons, like exotics, and like a mission. They were doing more slimy stuff than Xbox ever really did. And I don't think Mr. Layden really liked that, but Mr. Layden also doesn't like consolidation, but he consults for Tencent. So it's like, come on, dude. I wouldn't throw stones when you live in a glass house, my guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think also like people were saying Phil's a hypocrite there, but I don't. Phil didn't necessarily like say like, oh, Xbox is always squeaky clean.
No,
I mean, I think you could interpret that as Phil criticizing the old Xbox as well.
He's like criticizing themselves, but also the industry at large. Like who he's talking about. Like we did some slimy stuff, they did some slimy stuff, but clearly, I don't know. It's just weird to see Sean Layden console warring. This is the one thing I'll say about console warring and fanboys. You think that a lot of the people at these companies or a lot of these people at these websites always position themselves to be above it all? Let me tell you, there's a little secret for you. They all got a little fanboy in them. All of them. The people at the companies, the people at the websites, they may try to pass it off like they're above the console war and they're above any sort of allegiance to stuff. Let me tell you, they all have it in them a little bit. They all do, and you can always tell when it rears its head. So not really a surprise. But I thought Sean and Phil were friends. I wonder what Phil thought about that, about him liking those tweets. It'd be interesting to get his opinion on such things.
Yeah, I think so too.
The Jeff comment about CGI was,
I mean, Noob Sidebot in chat says in Phil's IGN interview, he did admit that Xbox started the exclusivity nonsense.
Yes, they did.
So that's the thing. He was also criticizing himself, but that's the annoying thing about social media. Like people clip and they take things out of context, and then it spreads like that. So Sean Layden would have seen the out of context take, and then reacted to that. And now we're reacting to the out of
Yes,
context
now
reaction
we're
of
reacting.
Sean Layden.
Yeah, YouTube's all
So
about just reactions of reactions of reactions.
Of reactions. Yeah, it's social media was a mistake. It was a mistake, bro.
Probably. And that probably absolutely was. Leading to the downfall of the human race, Yep.
But hey, I got to meet you because of
Yeah,
social media.
we got to meet all the cool people in the Xbox 2 community. It was great.
Yeah, true.
There's pluses to it, right? There's some really good things about social media, but there are also some really bad things about it. Just like anything else in life. Everything in moderation.
Double-edged sword, bro.
Yes. We got Lord Henry with the 50, but I think it's like Korean 50? I'm not sure. I don't know what SEK is. The Xbox Showcase was great. Expedition 33 and Doom the Dark Ages stood out for me the most. And we will be talking about what stood out for us. But yes, those definitely two were highlights. Christopher Jetser with the 5. I think Wukong is delayed because it's Unreal Engine 5, which is also similar to Troya because it's UE5 as well. I really think it's a Series S problem. Thoughts? I mean, I don't know. It could be. I'll take the dev at their, face value. They say optimization issues. Although,
just really?
I mean, I don't know. Because if it comes out that it's not, then they look bad. But I don't know. I mean, are you really thinking it's something different simply because they won't return your email?
What are you talking about?
I mean,
I don't think so.
You said they wouldn't return your email.
I totally believe them, man. I totally believe them.
Okay, you totally believe them? All right.
Yeah. Right. They wouldn't lie like that, would they? Of course not. Because, like you say, they'd look bad if they did. If they were caught lying, they look pretty bad, right?
Yeah, but I mean, okay. If they took a short-term exclusivity deal, I don't understand why they just wouldn't come out and say it.
Yeah, that'd be weird, wouldn't it?
I'm just saying, like, why wouldn't you just be like, come out and just say, hey, it'll be on Xbox later, unless they think that would be bad, or who would it be bad for, them or whoever they took the exclusivity from?
Well, I mean, who knows?
Okay. Artemis with the 5. Phil stated that Xbox has more Xbox console players ever in the history of Xbox. The 360 at 87 million. Is he saying there's more than 87 million? Jez?
I don't know. I suppose so. I mean, it's always hard because you don't know exactly for sure how they're measuring some of this stuff. Like maybe they measured it differently in the past than they are now, and when you compare, because they don't give us the hard figures. They just say, "Oh, we've got more than ever." So, obviously that means Xbox Series. In my mind, that means players on Xbox Series S and X. That means players on Xbox One. And still a little bit of players on Xbox 360, potentially. Because they're still, until the store gets shut down, they're still spending money too. I do wonder, because I've heard there's a non-trivial amount of people still on Xbox 360.
Maybe playing those Call of Duty games.
They're still playing Call of Duty,
I mean, that would be the only reasons to be still on the 360, really.
Yeah.
It's for
pretty
those.
Much.
But I guess... Yeah. Here's the thing, Artemis. When Xbox 360 sold 87 million, that doesn't mean 87 million people were playing the 360, right? A lot of those were resells or people buying doubles or triples because of the Red Ring of Death. Like, let's be honest. I think I bought 4 360s during that generation, and I'm sure plenty of other people bought more because the 360s were dying. So I think when they talk about we have more console players than ever, they're talking about monthly active users. And even though the 360 had sold 87 million, I doubt at any point in time their monthly active users on the 360 were 87 million, right? Because it's usually not to the same amount that you've sold, because some people are not going to play anymore. Maybe you get it for a gift and you only play it a couple times. Some are repeat buys, which will drive the number down. That's why I think PlayStation came out and I think they said their monthly active users were 118 million, but you add up all the PS4s and the PS5s, and you're pretty much at like what 160. But that's the thing. It's some of those people obviously bought PS5s or no, so they wouldn't. So I could see it where they're like right now combined with what we have on Xbox Series X and S and the Xbox One and the 360, we have more players right now at any point in time in Xbox history, including the time where the 360 dominated. Because those sales figures are probably a little bit inflated due to circumstances and things of that nature. So, it's something to keep in mind. But Microsoft doesn't really give out information like Nintendo or PlayStation do. But I don't really think there's any reason not to trust what they're saying. I mean, unless you want to call bullshit and that they're just straight up lying to everybody. Which
they kind of can't just lie about this because investors will make investments based on this. So, like, if an investor ever thought, "Oh, these bitches are lying," then that's gonna like sort of that's a reason to sort of be to sue Microsoft and say it'd be like, "Oh, you guys misled us" and stuff like that. So they can't exactly just straight up lie about this stuff because they will literally get in trouble with the spooky powers that be.
Spooky powers that be.
The spooky people that be. So they can't just lie about it. But at the same time, it's like they can sort of tweak the numbers. Make them look better than they might otherwise do. But yeah.
What game are you playing?
What do you mean?
I'm curious. What game you're playing right now?
I'm not playing a game.
Survey said that's a lie.
I'm playing Diablo.
Oh, Diablo. Okay.
It's one of the games I can play without having to focus on it at all.
Right. So I was just curious. Did you see the Overwatch 2 stuff today? 100 million. They had a new trailer. Got some Transformers sort of
I didn't
deal coming up soon or something. Yeah, like the Overwatch logo transformed into a Autobot logo.
Autobot.
So, yeah. So maybe some Transformer skins coming soon for Overwatch. Yeah. So cool. Overwatch announced 100 million players today and some other stuff.
One thing people ask me constantly for information on is Xbox gonna bring back the Hasbro's Transformers games into backwards compatibility?
Yeah, I get that. I get that quite a bit too.
I get that a lot. And maybe this is the first sign of maybe some movement there. If we want to do a bit of a reach.
Yeah, I'm gonna say no. I don't really think one has to do anything with the other.
I'm gonna reach. I'm gonna say, yeah, it's confirmed.
It's so they can sell $25 Optimus Prime skins that look like who'd be a character? Soldier 76.
Mm-hmm.
Or Bumblebee is Tracer skin.
Yeah, it's kind of cool the way that Overwatch does the skins because it's like the characters are cosplaying as those characters, kind of thing. Which I think is kind of a cool way to do it in universe. But I'll see how it goes. I did see one skin, but I didn't realize there was a whole new season. But I saw there's a kaiju skin for Roadhog today. I haven't touched Overwatch for a long time. I just got too much other stuff to do. I was complaining to Phil about this actually in LA.
Yes.
I was like, can't you, like, if I'm on Game Pass, can you make it so the battle passes go faster? Because I just don't have time to do them.
Ooh, a sped up battle pass for the free to play games on Game Pass. That's not a bad idea. What do you say?
He said that they'd talk about it.
Oh, okay.
Because like, one I've noticed that you can buy tier skips for Diablo and Overwatch with Microsoft rewards, right? But it's like, I don't want to have to jump through hoops. So why not just attach it to Game Pass? Give me like, I don't know, a 30% tier skip on every battle pass that's for games in Game Pass, like Overwatch, Diablo. I feel like it'd make people more likely to play and skip around games.
Well, it would have to be a Game Pass perk, right?
Yeah, like a Game Pass perk. Yeah, I would love that because then I'd actually finish the battle passes. Like the Fallout 76 battle pass is absurd. It's like you physically can't complete it unless you're playing all day every day forever. I feel like the Diablo one's pretty okay. But the Fallout 76 one is ridiculous. It's just like, bro, do they really want me to just have no life to complete this?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
Or the FOMO is strong enough where you just buy what you want. Like, oh, we put this all the way down here at level 70, and you can just essentially just buy out the whole pass.
Yeah,
to get
buy
everything.
the tiers.
Yeah.
Well, like, I played Fallout 76 hardcore like this season. I played it like, I mean, what I consider to be hardcore. I don't know. I put maybe like 200 hours into it or something, and I was barely halfway. So if I wanted to buy that battle pass, like the rest of the tiers, it probably cost me like $50 or more, And I think that's just absurd. And I know at the end of the day they want you to buy some of the tiers maybe and stuff, but if I've got Game Pass, shouldn't I get some of that stuff for free? I don't know.
Maybe. I'll get Andy Pro with the 5. PS games will be on next Xbox due to the hardware running Steam and Epic Store via stripped down Windows. Sony is already supporting Xbox. We shall see how that all plays out. Grandman with the 2.
I'm of that belief. Certainly of that belief.
Xbox 720 in the 2026. Also, SB Day 1 on Game Pass. Dave Ramos with the 5. In this week's question and answer, will you cover both last and this week? Thanks, Jess, and glad you're feeling better, Jez. Still wakes to deep June 18th.
We're just going off the Q&A thread I put for episode 320.
Yeah.
So there's already a thread up for episode 320. But for this Friday, I'll put up another thread probably on Thursday.
Yeah, because Fridays will be episode 321.
321, yeah.
Michael Mooney with
if
the 5.
If we haven't messed up the numbers,
Super Switch, yeah, whatever. Scarecrow 121 with the 10. Morning, boys. Listening live in Australia where it's 6 a.m. and 7 degrees Celsius, 42 degrees Fahrenheit. Glad you're feeling better, Jez, and hope your back is on the mend, Rand. It's getting better.
7 Celsius.
7 Celsius, good. 42 degrees Fahrenheit. Right now in Chicago, it is... What is it right now? Because it's supposed to be super hot. It's 95 degrees right now.
Since you're not on Twitter, you won't have seen this discourse, but... There was some interesting discourse about temperatures in Britain across social media this week, because one of our tabloids put out an article, and I'm certain this was for rage bait, but they put out an article saying Britain's set to bask in heat wave at 26 degrees Celsius or something, which is like, I don't know, what's 26 Celsius? But it's not that warm. But Americans were like, oh my god, that's not a heat wave. There's not a heat wave, blah, blah, blah. And, like, mocking Britain and stuff. And then, like, you have British people trying to explain that there's no air conditioning and the houses are designed for winter weather and stuff like that. But, yeah, even I don't consider 26 degrees to be a heat wave, but I don't know.
It's pretty hot. It's supposed to be hot all the rest of the week, so...
It's pretty cool here. It's nice and cool.
Yeah. We got Big Afro Man with the 10.
It was cold in LA too. Like, I was surprised how cool it was.
He says, you guys see that clip of Colin saying Xbox show was good and also a good PS5 show, but doesn't matter because it won't change the Xbox trajectory of spiraling downward. You guys think Xbox earned momentum? No, I didn't see Colin's stuff. I think people hang on, other people's words and opinions way too much, honestly.
It's a lot of old school people. They only think in terms of console sales, and like, it's like I was saying earlier. Like, console isn't growing, and if you look at PlayStation's numbers, like their monthly active users, and PlayStation shares this stuff. In 4 years, they have not really gained a huge amount of monthly active users by PlayStation's own numbers. You could call it flat. You could call it flat. They've gained a bit, but it's not a huge amount of people. That growth trajectory is not in line with inflation. So like they are not growing fast enough in console to make up for how expensive everything's getting. So that's why PlayStation's going hard on PC right now, because they know those users ain't moving. PlayStation PC users, they ain't moving. They know that. They can say things in their presentations like, "Oh, we hope to move PC gamers to PlayStation." They know that ain't happening. That is 100% a platitude for people who get triggered if they say they know PC users ain't moving. I don't think anyone really truly believes that they're going to convert PC gamers, but the name of the game now is monthly active users. Even PlayStation says this. They've moved to monthly active users as their key performance indicator model, their KPIs. Because console isn't going away, but it's just saturated. Console is saturated, you know. Xbox isn't going away either. They're not going to get rid of console hardware, but it's gonna converge with Windows, I think. We'll see.
I mean, he asked us if you guys think Xbox earned momentum. Yeah, they got a lot of strong momentum after the showcase, but you got to keep it up. You know, people need to you need to basically Xbox needs to capitalize on the momentum. They need to deliver on the things that they showed in the showcase and deliver great games. So, like, will you see a sudden huge increase in console sales because of this momentum? No, probably not. Because why would somebody be like, oh, well, now I'm going to get an Xbox? None of the games that they showed are out. Perfect Dark doesn't have a year. You know, Fable's still next year. You wouldn't look at that showcase and think, you know what, I need to go get an Xbox tomorrow. Now,
well, I will say, qualitatively, one of my PlayStation fanboy friends actually did buy an Xbox based on that showcase. Purely out of an abundance
anecdotal
of
evidence, but I think it's more like people see the showcase and they see what's coming down the pike, and Xbox kind of is like, oh, okay, that's cool, and then the games need to come out and be good, and then at some point, that decision that you cross that bridge to buy something.
It's a zeitgeist.
Yeah.
They've got to cut through the zeitgeist, and you only do that by being super consistent over time. But I think Xbox can disrupt things by having a handheld.
Sure.
It
wasn't at the show. No tease. Although Phil did pretty much say, in his IGN interview that,
you could call his comments to IGN as a tease, I suppose.
But the thing was that it was supposed to be teased at the show, and it wasn't.
Said that?
Ecstasis.
Ecstasis said it. Well, all right. It wasn't me. Don't blame me.
Yes.
But I think I said in my predictions, I said, don't expect much hardware at the show, and the most you can hope for is
don't expect
tease.
much hardware, and they showed three things.
Yeah. But
a $600 Series X.
I did mention the discless, I think, but I meant new hardware. I mean,
true.
I don't really care about a white Series.
Adorably all digital.
$600?
Yeah, the black 2 terabyte one, the limited edition one's $599.
Oh, I didn't like that. I posted a video of it on Patreon because I was up close and personal with it. I think it looks like someone's been painting and accidentally spread some paint droplets on the console by mistake. I do not like the look of that console, but
gotta make it look a little bit different, because it's limited edition. It's got the green at the bottom, and I think it even has the green on the bottom of the controller that comes with it, the exclusive of the controller that comes with the system.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. You know what they should have done, man? The best Xbox limited edition controllers are those sort of ghost controllers they do, where it's like it's translucent. I would love an Xbox with that translucency pattern. Why don't they do that? I don't know. But how much is the all digital? Since we're talking about it,
all digital is $449.
$449. Do you think that's a good price for it? Do you think it needs to be cheaper?
I think Xbox overall needs to be cheaper. Yes.
Well, they are overall cheaper right now.
No, they need to be significantly cheaper.
How much?
PlayStation's $499. Xbox needs to be $399 minimum.
$399.
Yeah. I mean, at least that to me, that's kind of the case. They can't be the same price because people just choose PlayStation, so you have to be cheaper.
You think that'll actually move units though, or is there just nothing they can do?
I mean, the only things they can do is just put out great content and see what happens. Otherwise, I don't know. Do I think a all digital 449 Series X is going to sell units? Not really. No. Will a 599 one sell units? No, but it's limited for a reason. I don't know. I mean, it's only $50 cheaper. We've seen.
I mean,
this...
there are people who collect consoles. They
sure,
literally collect them,
but not on the scale that you're looking for. But I don't really think. Also, I don't really think many people are going to buy the PS5 Pro either. When that comes out at $599 or $699 or whatever.
I'm really intrigued what the price of that will be. I'm really intrigued.
Don Taku with the 5 says, it's not about buying games I don't want. It's about giving false value to bad side content and games you'll play for imaginary points. Sounds like a you problem, bro. Once again, you don't have to do the side content. It's side for a reason. If you're only doing it because it gives you false value because you want the achievements, that sounds like a you problem. Nobody's forcing you at gunpoint, Mr. Otaku, to play bad side content. And you're also kind of missing the point, as in you're sort of equating bad side content to achievements and like, oh, you play it because it give you imaginary points. But side content has existed in games forever, before there were ever achievements. And there was good side content and bad side content. So this is all just your own personal responsibility, sir.
I tell you who does hate achievements.
Who?
Developers.
I know developers they do. It's extra work for nothing, essentially. They don't get anything out of it.
No, they don't. They hate it.
Yeah. It's a whole platform experience. It only gives value to the platforms.
Yep. I think there's a universe that exists where Microsoft could dynamically insert achievements using artificial intelligence or something.
Yeah.
But that's another discussion for another day.
Danny Passion with the 2 said, Rand, Phil clearly said Xbox user. Well, yeah, I mean, I was saying that I could see there could be more Xbox users on console now than there were in the 360. Isn't that what he said? Isn't that what I said too? I mean, because I think the super chat was essentially saying, how's that possible when the 360 sold 87 million? And I said it's possible because it's not like there were 87 million actual users of the 360 back then.
And also, you have to remember that user habits have completely changed now. We didn't have Fortnite and stuff like that back then. You know, like these forever games where you get on every single day and you don't play anything else. Like people's behavior has literally changed. And this is one of the big issues facing the industry right now is this concept of like people literally thinking to themselves, I'm not a gamer, I'm just a Fortnite player. You know, like kind of like how they'll treat Fortnite like it's their sport, you know, or their hobby. Like their entire hobby is Fortnite, not gaming. It's just Fortnite, you know. So that's like the way the industry's changed over time. And there's also that aspect of it. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. We also have one here from Wagerman for the 5. He says, hey guys, listening on my lunch break. Great seeing you. Jez, next year Rand needs to come out. Hope you're feeling better. Xbox has a great future. Yeah, I saw you hanging out with him.
Yeah, I hung out with Wagerman in LA. He's an awesome dude. We went to the Yard House together. She's like a bar kind of place. It was awesome.
All right.
That's where John Sicka Mechanico infected me.
Yeah.
Probably.
Sicka Mechanico infecting him. How was the, because you did a whole bunch of stuff, but you also had the Xbox Mixer on Saturday. How was that? Or can you not tell us about any secret stories from that event?
I don't think I'm under NDA for that or anything. I mean, they were just like it's an off the record thing, so don't try and interview people, just have fun, you know.
Right.
It was just sort of like a hangout session. It was awesome, you know. It was on top of the Academy Museum. It was really cool. Like the view was crazy, you know, across Hollywood and Beverly Hills and stuff like that. Yeah, it was fun. You know, I was hanging out with Colt most of the time and my colleagues Zachary and Samuel from Windows Central, drinking and just hanging out. It was just a fun time. There was no real, you know, there was no real trying to get information because
You didn't get any. You didn't get any presents like beans last year from Sarah Bond.
No beans this year. Thankfully, because I don't know where I put them. But there was some people at the show who were like, I've still got the tin of beans you gave me from last year, which was funny as hell.
Well, with that, let's talk about the showcase, Jez. So,
Yeah.
give me your overall thoughts, and then we'll go like individually about this one, about some of the games in this thing. Because I don't know, I haven't talked to you, so I don't know what your thoughts are about the showcase. So hit me up, tell me what you think.
Well, I'm weird, right? Because I was working through.
Really,
it,
you're weird? Never knew that. Never crossed my mind that Jez Corden's a weird fella. Hey, I mean that's so how you start out the thing. I say, how'd you like the show? And your first thing is you say, I'm weird. Like, okay.
Why you didn't let me finish my fucking sentence?
Okay, well, go ahead.
Well, I was saying I'm weird because I didn't just sit there and watch it and chill while watching it. I was doing the live blog.
Yeah, they told me that you weren't even at the theater. You were back at your hotel working, like typing it up and stuff.
Yeah, so I was like, I was thinking like, shall I go to the theater or shall I just stay in the hotel where I can guarantee that I'm gonna have high quality or at least decent quality Wi-Fi? You know, because oftentimes at these events, the Wi-Fi is not that great. So I didn't want to risk that happening. So I didn't even go to the show. I watched it on YouTube, like the rest of us.
The rest of the world, yes.
The rest of the world. So sometimes like a trailer will come on, and I'd completely miss it because I'd be heads down, you know. But the sort of high level view on that show was just that it was spectacular. You know, it was everything that it needed to be, and there is a cliche that sort of rolls up every year where it's like, oh, this is Xbox's most important show.
Yeah, every year it's like, this needs to be the most amazing show ever, or Xbox is finally dead. Right, every year, the most important Xbox show. Right, every single year. They've been saying that since 2017. The most important Xbox show ever.
Yeah, they have. But this year, like it kind of felt like I don't buy into that whole Xbox needs to have a banger show every year because otherwise they're doomed. I don't buy into that whole narrative at all.
Well, Xbox has been under fire a lot this year. There have been a lot more negative news. I mean, they shut down Tango Gameworks and 4 other studios. You know, there's a third-party stuff which, you know, was at the beginning of the year was a whole drama surrounding will they or won't they go to place. There's a lot of I don't know.
I mean, that is why, like, I'm not gonna say it's the most important show of all time, but if there was one time where they really needed to nail it, it was probably this year. Since I've been doing this, at least in like the last 10 years, like. Just because of the way everything's been this year and the negativity and the morale issues we've seen in the community, like they gave us something positive to look at and look forward to, and you know, a sort of something bright on the horizon to consider. And I think that was super important for them to nail that, for the fans and the people who are still sort of questioning whether or not they even still want to stick around for all this drama and bullshit, because Microsoft has really put us through the ringer, I think, or at least some people through the ringer this year with the sort of lack of clarity, the sort of like will they, won't they kind of thing, and are they actually, and just questions of like, are you actually still in the game? Are you actually still invested in this, Microsoft, or are you sort of dialing back your ambitions and stuff? I think that's really what people need to see, that Microsoft isn't dialing back their ambitions and that they are still serious and they're still in the game. And I think that is really what they showed, is that they are still definitely still in the game. That being said, I didn't think it was perfect. I'm not going to sit here and say it was super
Not a 10 out of
perfect.
10? If you were to give it an overall rating, you wouldn't give it... Well, I mean, 10 out of 10
No.
doesn't mean perfect, in my opinion. It just means, like, masterpiece or whatever. So,
Yeah.
nothing's perfect. But yes.
Yeah. I give it a 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. Okay.
9 out of 10.
So,
And I'll tell you for why.
Why? Tell us why, Jez.
All right, the reason that I say 9 out of 10 is because, like some people in chat have alluded to, there was an abundant lack of committals to launch dates and things like that, you know, or even launch windows in some cases. I think like they could have made more of an effort there to sort of put a flag down on it on a specific year for certain things and stuff like that. It's not a huge deal to me personally because, like I say, my backlog is extreme.
You're not going to finish most of these games anyways.
Yeah, unless I'm reviewing them. But at the same time, it's kind of like, how much of a roadmap is this when Microsoft has sort of, they've kind of, I don't know, they've created this sort of, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, a reputation, I would say. They've created a sort of reputation for not, you know, delivering on a time, a fair timescale, I would say. Because there's just been, they've announced so many games that's taken a million years to even manifest. And yeah, we got some of the answers to that. This week, last month, this month. We got some of the answers to that. We finally saw Perfect Dark. We saw more in-engine gameplay of Fable. We saw State of Decay fully revealed, and it looks fantastic. Didn't I tell you guys it was gonna look good? That was I've been hearing for a long time like how much the coalition has been upgrading studios through, you know, collaborative efforts and stuff like that. So like it was great to see those games show up and be fantastic. But the other thing that I would dock points for is the lack of AAA Japanese presence, I would say.
Okay. What happened to Blue Dragon, Jez? You were teasing Blue Dragon.
What did I?
I don't know.
I don't remember that. Nah, I did hear like that Blue Dragon, there was a Blue Dragon remaster, but I guess it just turned out not to be true. I never explicitly reported that.
Maybe it could be a TGS or Tokyo Game
maybe
Show, right? Maybe that's a better venue for it.
Maybe, but maybe it just doesn't exist.
Maybe.
You know?
What about Gears Collection?
I've always said I've never seen any evidence that Gears Collection exists. So, you know, so yeah, there was no Gears Collection, but I wasn't expecting that anyway, because like I say, I've been the only time I've ever received information about the Gears Collection was to be told that it doesn't exist, and that was a long time ago.
Yes.
So yeah, I wasn't expecting that, but I would have liked to have seen more, you know. One of the things that people were hoping to see was a bit more Square Enix, and there was a little bit Square Enix over the period. You know, Octopath Traveler 2 obviously come to Game Pass, which I don't think that was announced at the show, but it was sort of around the same.
It was a couple days before.
Yeah, it was a similar time frame, so that was really cool to see. And it's sort of like it's an indictment of Square Enix's weird strategy, because like Octopath Traveler 1 wasn't on PlayStation, and Octopath Traveler 2 was, and then it was the opposite situation for Xbox. It was like, do you want to make a decision about where you put in your game, Square Enix? But a lot of people were hoping like there'd be Final Fantasy there, Final Fantasy 16 or Final Fantasy 7, like the hard hopium there that Final Fantasy 7 would escape PlayStation exclusivity, but it just doesn't seem like, you know, that's on the table yet or whatever.
No
maybe
Banjo.
We'll see that. No Banjo. I swear to God, Banjo's another one. I've never seen a shred of evidence that Banjo exists in any way, shape, or form. I don't think that's a thing that's gonna happen.
So do you think no Banjo?
No, I don't. I don't think Banjo exists.
Because I made a tweet that people said was kind of mean the other day.
Oh.
Where I said, you know, one of the best things about the Xbox Showcase no one's talking about is no Banjo.
There was no Banjo.
Sorry, my Banjo bros. Maybe one day soon. Lol. And, you know, I want my Banjo bros. to get their Banjo game.
Apparently not. You don't.
Well, I mean, we tease the Banjo Bros.
We do tease the Banjo Bros. Banjo's just one of these things that's just sort of like you think you want it, but nobody bought the original, really, and not enough and the audience for it probably just doesn't exist now.
What about Astrobot, bro? People are talking about Astrobot and how like Xbox could bring back Banjo and it could be their Astrobot, And I will say, Astrobot's probably up there of one of my most anticipated games the rest of the year, because the original game that came free with the PS5 is really damn incredible, and it's like
never played it.
It's really a love letter to.
What is it? Like a
it's a platformer.
Game,
it's a platformer, right? But it's a love letter to the PlayStation history, essentially. And it's really short. It kind of was a demo for all the DualSense 5 features that it can do. And it was just like, you play it and it's short because it's obviously packed in. You're like, man, I wonder what a full game would be like. And they're making it, right? They're a full game.
Who's making it?
I forget the team name, but the team of Asobi, I think.
Is that an internal studio?
Yes, that's one of when Sony shut down Japan studio over there. That was like one of the ones teams that like still they kind of made it through all that. Right. So it's a Sony internal studio. But there's a lot of talk about how this is going to appeal to families and that sort of stuff, and I sort of get the impression that Astrobot's just really going to appeal to dudes who are like 30 plus, who have a love affair and like PlayStation. I don't necessarily know if it'll appeal to kids, because I think kids want to play Grand Theft Auto and Fortnite. I don't think they really care about something like Astrobot. But that's where the talking point is like, oh, well, Sony has Astrobot, which is their family-friendly thing. Why can't Xbox do a Banjo? And I mean, it's a fair comparison. It'd be like, okay, yeah, why not? But it's like, I also kind of agree with you about Banjo, unless like you brought it to Switch, which you would think Xbox would do anyways. But I don't know. Maybe they've been pitched Banjo and they just don't like any of the pitches, and they're like, we're not going to bother doing this. Maybe they're going to see what Toys for Bob can come up with. What's Toys for Bob working on for them? Any other takeaways from the overall hierarchy stuff?
Those were the only two negatives, and to be fair, then they're not big negatives really. It's just like this is sort of like, if you got to nitpick something, then these are the nitpicks, right? And it's not like there aren't things in the pipeline for this stuff either. But other than that, like, it was one of the few showcases I've ever seen in my life where I pretty much wanted to play almost everything. I mean, there was some like indie games that I thought wasn't for me, and obviously I'm not a big flight simulator player and stuff like that. But everything just looked great. Like all like the action games and the core games just look fantastic. So the partnerships they've got, like the Dragon Age trailer was weird, but I'm gonna hold out hope that the actual game's good. I'm on a lot of hopium right now with regards to Dragon Age. I'll be
we'll talk about that when we get there. So, I mean, first off, I want to thank everybody who watched the show with me live. We did a stream. I did stream it. I've done the last two, so I was like, I'll do this year. We had a guest, Gamsley, join me to because you were gone, you've abandoned me. And here we are a week later, essentially doing the show when this show should have been done a week ago, or at least on Friday. But hey, you're sick and you want to go out there and rub shoulders with all the big wigs and stuff. Hey, whatever, it's fine. But here we are, and so I was like, I'll stream it, and I streamed it with Gamsley, and it was a lot of fun because there's a lot of surprises in here. Some games we didn't think we'd see, or games that showed up in a way that I didn't expect, things of that nature. So there were some off the cuff reactions, and I made a few videos. I made a video on Sunday about my thoughts on the show, and then I made a video on Tuesday and a video on Thursday, which is like, I'm getting back into it. 4 videos in a week, haven't done that in a while. So hopefully everybody really enjoyed that. I appreciate everybody who decided to check out the video. I appreciate everybody who's tuned in now. So for anybody who hasn't heard my thoughts on it, it was kind of like the hype leading up to this one was muted for a while. Remember, we talked about it was like, it doesn't really seem like there's a lot of hype for the Xbox Showcase this year. And I think that was directly because of the PlayStation rumors. Right? It seemed like a portion of the Xbox audience or the Xbox community who are always out there hyping Xbox up at every chance and opportunity they could get were put off by, hey, some games are going to PlayStation, right? Mm-hmm. Which is something that's not going to go away. And Phil even talked about in his interview where he basically said, we got more games coming to the PlayStation. I was, which is like we said after February, then that business update, me and you were both like, there's going to be more games. They're absolutely not stopping at 4. And, Phil just coming out there basically saying, yeah, there's more coming. It kind of just it makes you look at the February update and you're just like...
There are people attacking me to this day for suggesting there'd be more than 4 games.
I know. They just don't want to believe it because they don't like to hear any negativity surrounding the brand. There are those grifters within the community that do that stuff. But it was like, yeah, it was always going to be more than 4. A lot of that business update was, in my opinion, damage control. And you can clearly see with how well Sea of Thieves is done on PlayStation, where it literally dominated PlayStation for the month of May. Best-selling game in Europe, best-selling game in the US. Which, incredible for Rare, incredible for the player base, incredible for the game. But then always, it's like, okay, well, what does that mean for everything else? But Phil was just like, hey, we got more coming. And it was just like, man, that really turned from 4 games and don't think everybody's coming to we got more coming. That shifted really quickly. So whatever. But as it pertains to the showcase, like the hype wasn't there leading up to it. Like it would have been in previous years. And last year's was really damn good. Starfield Direct was amazing. We knew we were going to get the Call of Duty Black Ops 6 thing here, which, me and you aren't particularly too interested in. Like, I'm going to play the campaign, and the campaign looks stellar here. There's a lot of hype surrounding this Call of Duty. I think it's like one of the most viewed Call of Duty trailers ever, essentially. Or there's some metric I saw them talking about. So people do really seem interested in this Call of Duty.
I mean, it's this kind of special Call of Duty because it's the first one that's had a 4-year dev cycle.
4-year dev cycle. So there wasn't a lot of hype leading into the show until like a couple days before, and it was like, all right, you started hearing rumors. There's like, oh, this could be an all-timer. This could be one of the greats. And you think about what could be there, and it's like, hey, this game could be there, this, that, and the other, and the third. And you're like, okay, well, yeah, because it's about time to show. Because it's been, like you said, Microsoft positioned and put out a whole bunch of CGI trailers in 2020 that we really hadn't seen much of because, well, they needed to, because they didn't have anything much close in the pipeline. So they needed to, well, we're selling this new console, but unfortunately, the games that are going to come with it won't be here down the road, so we need to do these CGI announcement trailers. And been waiting on those to the fruits of that stuff. And finally you get to see some of that, at least with gameplay, which I think this showcase did pretty damn well. There was a large more focus on gameplay and describing what was going to be in the trailers pretty well. If you notice, a lot of the trailers would say in-engine footage and cinematics, or in-game and cinematics, or just cinematics. It would tell you what it was. Which I appreciate, right? I really do. And I appreciate seeing gameplay. Like I've always said, first time you announce a game, I'm fine with just seeing some CGI sort of thing for it. Second time I see the game, I better see some gameplay, right?
I've honestly got to the point where I don't even want to see CGI at the
I'm just saying
start
I
anymore.
don't mind it if it's like your first trailer. I don't mind it whatsoever. But anything
Well,
past the first one,
yeah, fair enough. But like, I think Unreal Engine's gotten so good
yeah, but
to the point where you can do an in-engine trailer and have it look like pre-rendered, and that's where a lot of the discourse was about Gears of War E-Day, because you had Jeff Keighley out here saying like, "Oh, CG
just
trailer,
CG.
blah blah blah," which was in such bad faith. I've kind of felt like I'm calling you out, Jeff. That was in bad faith.
Don't call out Jeff. He'll hear this. He reads everything, bro. Do you see that little
Yeah,
clip
it's fine.
of
That
Snowbike
was in bad
Mike?
faith.
Like,
No.
You didn't see the clip of Snowbike Mike wanting to be best friends with Jeff, and Jeff didn't like the fact that he gave Summer Games Fest a 4 out of 10 or something.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, there's a nice
That's
little
funny.
short on there. But shout out to Snowbike Mike. He's awesome because I forget what day it was. I think it was maybe Friday. It was Friday. I had called Lord Cognito, and I was telling him, a couple things I had heard, and we were and he was telling me about some of the stuff that was going on there, right? And I think everybody was at the JW, the Marriott or whatever, and everybody's hanging out. And he's like, "All right, I'm off in a corner," and I talk to Cognito all the time, just like I talk to Cold all the time. And all of a sudden, I hear Cog go, like, "I'm not hiding from. What do you mean? I'm not hiding." He's like, "Oh, I got Randall Thor 19 on the phone," and I'm like, "What's going on?" And then all of a sudden, on the phone, I hear Snowbike Mike just read me the riot act. Mike takes the phone from Cognito and starts being like, "Rand, I love you. You're so amazing. But why aren't you here?" So Mike sort of read me the riot act over the phone, but it was great, right? Because they were all there and stuff. But yeah, it was funny to.
I told you people were asking where you were. I saw Snowbike as well.
Did you see the story about how Sarah Bond thought he has kids and always asks him how his kids are doing, and he has no kids, but he tells her he didn't want to correct her and say he has none, so he says he says they're doing fine, but this year he said he doesn't have any, and it was like a big joke. Did you see Obsidian?
Yeah, I saw that.
And everybody
That
wished
was really
Mike.
funny.
Oh my God, it's
Happy Father's Day.
fantastic. We'll get him on Xbox 2+1 in the future because I want to have a nice conversation with Mike because he's amazing.
I tweeted out like I was like so tired going to Summer Game Fest that one day because my sleep cycle was all over the place. It's always crazy when you travel like continents and then you get like jet lagged and stuff. And I was so exhausted, and then Snowbike Mike came up and he's like, "Oh, Jez, hello, how are you?" And like all this energy, and it just really woke me up. And I was like, "Oh wow, that was like having a shot of espresso."
But who hypes up Mike? Because Mike hypes up everybody. Who hypes up Mike? How is he always so hype all the time? That's got to be draining, you know?
I don't know, man.
I mean, we do this podcast pretty, I feel like I try to bring the energy sometimes, or at least I'm more energetic than I normally am. And 4 hours of this, when this podcast is done, I'm like, whoo, like I'm hyped out for the rest of the day. Like it's like, all right, I'm gonna go do something else. But
you're bringing the hype today for me. Thank you, Rand.
But back on topic about the show. So we mentioned how the hype wasn't really there this year, and then suddenly it was, and then there was the whole Dreamcast Guy Paris thing that happened, which I thought was hilarious.
Man. That was fun.
We'll talk about that with Paris when we have him on in a couple weeks or next week.
That really shows the limit to grifting.
Yeah,
there is a hard limit to grifting. Some Dreamcast guy flew too close to the sun, man. The grifting sun.
Yeah. But so we get to the showcase now, and I gotta say, it sort of blew my expectations out of the water, Jez. I gave the show, I would have given it a 10 out of 10, and there's still times I think it is. And I've watched so many people's reaction on it because I just like to see what the people thought of Perfect Dark, what they thought of South of Midnight, what they thought of Gears E-Day. Just really fun seeing people, okay, when do the people realize that it's a prequel? When do people realize that it's not Gears 6? What do people think about the South of Midnight transition from cinematic to gameplay? What do people think about I'm very curious to see how people thought about all this, because even in my mind, when I think about the showcase without a list of games in my head, there's so many games that you can name off that were top level, right? You could talk about Doom, the Dark Ages. You could talk about South of Midnight. You could talk about Fable. You could talk about Perfect Dark. You could talk about Gears E-Day. And it's like, holy crap, when's the last time Xbox has had something like that? Where there's multiple quote-unquote games of the show, because I certainly feel like those all could be in their own category by themselves, and they sort of overshadowed
way of putting it.
Something like Indiana Jones, for example, right? Where it's like all these other things. But we'll talk about that, and even like the third-party stuff. There was a couple third-party games here that were. You see it and you're like, holy crap. So they started off the show with Call of Duty Black Ops 6. You're not going to really say much. I didn't really watch the Direct anyways. I was just so, like, we were still streaming the Direct, but I was so, my mind was just completely blown by what we had witnessed, especially with the Gears thing, that I didn't really pay attention to the Call of Duty Direct, and I never bothered to go back. And honestly, I'm only interested in the campaign anyways, and it does look like it's going to be a fun ride. It absolutely looks like it's going to be one of those turn your brain off Call of Duty campaigns, crazy set pieces and stuff, which is exactly what I want from it. Like, give me some conspiracy theories, give me some crazy, set pieces, and I'm good to go. So it looks like we're gonna have that. Phil starts the show off and introduces Doom: The Dark Ages. Jez, let me tell you, Doom: The Dark Ages, man.
I knew you'd like that,
bro. Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal are amazing. I know there's some pushback on Doom Eternal because of how they want you to play the game. They want you to switch weapons and use all the different types of ammos and stuff. You couldn't just run around with the super shotgun, but man, I was wondering.
Looked like a return to more old school Doom kind of gameplay, but it's funny because Tom Henderson leaked it.
Yes.
And I'd heard things about it, like that it was medieval style, but I didn't have the name. But Tom Henderson got the name, and I was like, I corroborated his report, and I put in there, it's going to be like have a medieval style, and it's going to focus on the night sentinels and stuff like that. I had loads of people upset at me about that because they were like, "Oh my god, medieval! It's going to have no guns in it," and I was like, "No, it's going to have guns.
Yeah, it's going to have guns. Don't worry about it."
Don't worry about that. How do you have a Doom game without guns? Are people thinking it was going to be like Far Cry Primal or something where you don't have any gun?
Well, yeah, it's clearly a prequel to Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal. What the Doom guy went through when he was working for them. Probably, if I would imagine, the game will probably end with him getting put in the casket that leads into Doom 2016, which.
Yeah, I would think so.
But, dude, they just went so crazy. A shield with a buzzsaw on it?
It's ridiculous. It's so awesome.
It's so ridiculously over the top.
I really love but I honestly love, like, it's so over the top and ridiculous, but I love that they're taking the lore quite seriously.
Yeah, which they have been. The last two games, they've been taking the lore pretty seriously. Yeah.
I love that too, because it sort of helps it expand as well. Like, but yeah, Doom's a very special franchise, and obviously, like I put in my report that it's coming to PlayStation as well, and
yes,
Ben, I was attacked for that as well.
Why are they
Thank
attacking
you.
They love attacking you, I guess.
I don't know. I don't know, man. Like, so there's been a shift towards shooting the messenger in recent years, I think. But I was like, hey, don't shoot the messenger. And people were like, oh, Jez lying. He's making it up. He hates Xbox, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, you're the double agent of chaos.
Double agent of chaos, yeah. And it's like, it's come. I understand this is coming day and date to PlayStation. And people are mad at me. And again, but it doesn't matter because it just looks absolutely fantastic. And Doom is a franchise. You can run Doom on a lawnmower. You can run Doom on a Samsung smart fridge. You can run Doom on a pregnancy test. So it's not really in Doom's DNA to be an exclusive franchise, I think. But it's whatever, man. I'm really excited for that one. That's definitely
crazy,
up there for me.
Crazy. I mean, you get to pilot a mech. You get to fly one of those Doom beasts. I don't even know what they're called. And it kind of set the whole tone for the show, right? Here's the Call of Duty thing, which is like Microsoft's big play for Game Pass, and it's clearly going to be the biggest game they probably ever released, right? This year's Call of Duty, after last year's Call of Duty. But this Call of Duty's got a lot of hype behind it. People seem to be really impressed by it. And then you start off the show, and I think it was a good opener because Doom is all about gameplay. You know, it does have cinematics, but they're not what Doom is. So it's nice to be like, here's Doom, and by the way, here's gameplay. Here's what the game's going to look like. Here's what it's going to play like. We already know what it looks and it's going to play like, but you can see it. And I felt that, like, that just set the tone for the show. Like, we're going in hard on all this stuff. You wanted to see everything that we're doing. Here you have it, right? So, and then to have it say 2025 is great, right? Because that's one of the other things you can say about the show is you sort of get a roadmap of the next 2 years, I think. Essentially, is like what Microsoft did with the show without really explicitly saying it, is they've told you the games that are basically coming in 2024, 2025, and 2026. And brother, we're in for a ride. This is exactly what essentially we've been talking about and we've been waiting for. And I think if it wasn't for COVID, I think maybe everything would have been shifted a year earlier, right? But it happened. But when you look at like this year, they got a lot of games. They got Age of Mythology, they got Our History Untold, both coming in September. You have, Microsoft Flight Sim in November. Avowed supposed to be in November. Indie's supposed to be in December. Call of Duty's in October, right? But when you look at next year, you already know you have South of Midnight, Doom Eternal, or not Doom Eternal, Doom the Dark Ages, and Fable. Already announced all for 2025. And we know from Tom Warren's reporting that they're kind of angling Fable to be anywhere between October and December. October would be my guess. I mean, he even put it out there that at one point he heard that Gears E-Day is supposed to be next year, releasing before Fable. I don't think that's going to end up being the case. I don't think so. I think Gears E-Day is going to come out in 2026. But when I mentioned like the release dates and the release cadence, so you have the games in 2024, we have the 3 we just mentioned in 2025, and then 2026 you have Perfect Dark, you have Gears E-Day, and you have State of Decay 3. So essentially you can look at it.
State of Decay in 2026?
I mean, it didn't have a date.
I think I've heard State of Decay is next year.
Well, I mean, maybe it is, but they weren't confident enough to throw a date on it, though, or a year. So what does that really tell you?
They are, yeah. I've heard they're going in for 2025 for State of Decay.
But the thing is that Xbox has so many games, and I've told you this before. I'm like, at some point they're going to have to hold on to stuff. They're going to have to basically do what Nintendo does sometimes, where they're like, this game's ready and this game's ready, but we don't need both of them. And we've seen Phil's emails for about 2022 where he said it was a complete and utter disaster because they had nothing to replace Starfield and Redfall after they had been delayed. Where it's like, okay, if you can get out Fable and Fable and South of Midnight and Doom, and who knows if there's a Gears collection, and is Forza Horizon 6 next year, and what about Contraband or Outer Worlds 2 or some of the other things that you know they're already working on? It's like, do you even need State of Decay 3 for that year? Why not just open up?
What a turnaround.
I'm just saying.
What a turnaround. We're sitting there talking about like Xbox holding games back because they've got too much content. And in previous years, we'd
I know.
Please give us some content.
But that's what happens.
Talking about they're holding games back because they've got so much content. And this is like even without stuff that we haven't even seen yet. Projects that we're like at least aware of, like Contraband and stuff like that. And Contraband's like having difficulties because they lost the game director, for example, and also the Avalanche has shed like a huge portion of its workforce. But it's not just Contraband. There's like loads of other games that we've at least sort of or at least rumored, and we're sitting here talking about just a mountainous roadmap.
Mountainous.
Mountainous.
And I didn't even mention like Xbox's other stuff where They have all the expansions and DLC, like Diablo 4's expansion in October, right? You have Sea of Thieves constant updates. Overwatch is getting they have all these games that also offer the live service element too. Hell, World of Warcraft was in this show, for Christ's sake. I'm saying, like, I believe you.
For Christ's sake,
I believe you.
Respect on Warcraft's name.
I believe you when you say you've heard that State of Decay could be next year. I'm just saying, maybe it's, even though it could, maybe they just hold it because you have all the stuff, and sometimes I
love this though. I love this.
Yes,
because
it's a good dilemma to have. It's a good problem to have.
If you do have the option to delay something so you can polish it up more, add more features, especially in a game like State of Decay, which is gonna hinge on how much content it has ultimately. I think that's so exciting.
Which, since we talked about Doom, that is the next game, right? State of Decay 3 showed up, and it definitely was a big improvement over State of Decay 2. You can see it right away. And
didn't I say that?
You did say that.
I want my flowers.
That you did say that. And when you watch the trailer back, it does say at the bottom, in-game footage and cinematics. So it was a combination of both. They definitely seem to use more cinematics than in-game footage.
They in some of the post interviews, they were talking about how, like, there's hints about the gameplay in the cinematics. So, like, they were talking about enhanced dismemberment systems,
which you did get to see.
Yeah, shoot zombies' legs off, to make them slower, and stuff like that. Because there are zombies in State of Decay which they're wearing helmets, which makes it hard to headshot them. So maybe it's like easier to take their legs out, and stuff like that, and then go in for a melee kill. Man, I am so excited for this. I can't tell you. I love zombie games. And I remember when I first started in this business, the very first E3 I went to was when they showed off State of Decay 2. And I remember being disappointed. I remember thinking, man, this looks just like State of Decay 1, but with some extra bits on top. And then there was like the news about the tethering as well,
which I think they're getting rid of. They talked about working with the Grounded team on sharing some of their that save technology.
Yeah, there's no tethering in State of Decay 3,
which is great.
And also, it's going to use Xbox's cloud saves system to have virtual dedicated servers. So you can set up Grounded where multiple players share a cloud save, which I think is so cool. I love that system so much. And you'd think Fallout 76 would have it, right? And I did talk to the devs of Fallout 76 about crossplay and things like that, but alas, it doesn't look like it's happening anytime soon. But yeah, none of those issues are going to be in State of Decay 3, which is awesome to hear. And man, it just looked fantastic. That was my personal game of the show.
Really? I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised a bit. It's so, like, for me, as someone who's not necessarily a big fan of State of Decay, watching that, I was like, okay, the visuals have been improved. It looks good. I'm kind of like, I want to see more. This is the game that I want to see more of. Because State of Decay 2 kind of could be like a job in a way, right? And it was just like, but if it's, I don't know. I just need to see what the game, more of the game, I guess. What it was going to be look like in co-op and all those sort of stuff. So it's definitely I'm more looking forward to it than I would be previously. But we'll see. We'll see what it looks like when I think it comes out in 2026. Now, I could be wrong, and Jez might be right on this one. Maybe it's targeting 2025, but they clearly didn't feel confident enough to put a year on it. So I'll go with 2026 in my thing. I know that I saw some people in chat wanted you to talk about this, Jez, because we had a trailer for Dragon Age The Veilguard, and since then we've seen gameplay of it. I guess I'll give my quick thoughts. Dragon Age isn't really... Like, BioWare for me is all about... BioWare for me is Mass Effect, right? Sure, they make Dragon Age. I only played Dragon Age 1. I didn't play 2 or Inquisition, so I don't really have that much of an opinion on it. So when I watched that trailer, I was like, it didn't really sell me. I did watch the gameplay deep dive, and to me, what I thought it looked like was fantasy Mass Effect in a way,
Yeah.
which
I
isn't
mean,
necessarily a bad thing from someone who loves Mass Effect. But I'm kind of curious, as like a lover of Dragon Age as you are, what did you think of the Dragon Age stuff?
I hated the Fortnite Dragon Age trailer.
Mm.
I thought that was awful, and I I know that they're going to be having discussions internally about how off tone that was and off brand for Dragon Age that was. Because at the end of the day, I don't think you're going to get any new users by trying to appeal to the Fortnite crowd with Dragon Age. The Fortnite crowd doesn't care about Dragon Age, and they never will. But this is EA being EA doing dumb shit. But like someone pointed out, I can't remember who this was. I think it was Gene actually on Gene Park on Twitter. Someone pointed out that Dragon Age has always had terrible marketing and always had weird trailers with weird music and stuff like that. And he's right. Like going back far enough, there are like a lot of weird Dragon Age trailers which just don't represent the game very well. But I knew that EA does stupid shit like that. So I was gonna be like, I'm gonna wait for gameplay. And I got a good friend who is in the know, and they're very sort of they're very bullish on Dragon Age, and they're like, don't worry about Dragon Age, it's gonna be great, it's gonna be good, like even if you're a long time fan and stuff like that. And I am someone who, for me, BioWare is Dragon Age more so than Mass Effect. Like I'm more of a Dragon Age guy, and this is one place where me and Rand diverge a bit. I love Mass Effect, but Dragon Age for me was just Dragon Age Origins, one of my favorite games of all time. And there's this huge discourse now about like Dragon Age Veilguard being completely different, and the biggest change is the fact that you don't control the whole party anymore. So previously you could switch between the different characters, set up tactics, and do stuff like that. Now you can't really do that. Now it is more like Mass Effect, where your squad are AI, and you can trigger their abilities manually using a radial wheel. Now, I don't necessarily hate that, and it does kind of suck to lose the more tactical sort of old school sort of semi CRPG gameplay in Veilguard. But I'm also not super confident overall because I think the gameplay, what they showed, I don't think that was super exciting either.
Mm.
And to be fair, it was like level 1 gameplay.
It was.
I think what they've done in the past, and I think they did this with Mass Effect. I want to say they did this with Mass Effect 2 or 3. They've shown like what they've done in the past. They've shown level 1 gameplay for a little while, and then they've switched to higher level gameplay to show you like how your character advances. I think they really needed to do that. They need to show like, okay, so this is my level 1 rogue. What does my level, what does my mid game mage look like? Because I don't think that gameplay that they showed was particularly great. Because it looked really simplistic. It looked really easy, and it just, I don't think it was good representation. So I'm still in a sort of, I want to wait and see. The one thing that I thought they did now was the tone. I thought that the characters looked good. It was cool seeing Varric again and Solus and stuff like that. And by the way, some people did notice in my predictions article that I did write a long-suffering fan base will find some solace in the Xbox showcase, and that was a hint that Solus would be there in the show. It was a terrible, terrible hint. But yeah, I'm in wait and see still, but I'm just kind of worried. I'm kind of worried that like with Rocksteady, right? That the team that made, Rocksteady great is no longer there. Maybe the team that made BioWare great is no longer there. And that it's just a new team and it's a different new direction and all. And it's just sort of, it's just a different time. But
Right.
The thing is, I felt this way with Dragon Age 2. Originally, when Dragon Age 2 came out, I was like, this just does not feel like Dragon Age. But I grew to love Dragon Age 2. So I'm gonna wait and see. I'm too emotional about this franchise, man. It's weird. Yeah, that was Dragon Age.
Honestly, you're gonna hate me for this, but like
Mhm.
the idea of that you don't control your teammates is actually a plus in my book.
Yeah, I think it might be a plus for a lot of people, and I think that's probably why they've done it. Um,
But then again,
because
I'm
like,
like, you're catering to the non-fans, and even as a non-fan, I'm kind of, I don't know if I'm gonna buy or play this game. I was
yeah,
I you
that's the
know
issue. It's like, do you dilute what made the game great to try and hunt a broader audience? And that's a gamble, you know. But at the same time, I kind of feel like if they doubled down on the sort of classic tactical gameplay, and they did that a bit with Inquisition. You know, Inquisition, like they removed a lot of the I don't know, they removed the ability to heal, for example, and replaced it with barriers and stuff. And that made it like you had to really think about the tactics. You couldn't just brute force in Inquisition, especially on the higher difficulties. But I feel like with this, they've sort of swung hard in the other direction, and I wonder if like, um, you know, you got sort of if you want the sort of classic Dragon Age Origins gameplay, that's what Baldur's Gate 3 is for ultimately. And
yeah
Baldur's Gate 3 was like the closest I had to a Dragon Age Origins experience in forever. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I want to hope and pray that Dragon Age does well because honestly, I think if Dragon Age Valgard doesn't do well, that's the end of the franchise. That is the death of the franchise. So we'll
yeah.
see.
Part of me also is like, man, I hope Dragon Age does well because I feel like that's the only way we're gonna get the new Mass Effect 2. Like I feel like if
No,
Dragon Age, I feel like if
no.
Dragon Age bombs, I don't think BioWare continues.
Nah,
I don't
I think they'll
know.
do Mass
I
Effect
don't
3.
know.
I think we get Mass Effect 4, sorry, regardless. I really do. They're working on it right now. It's not like, you know, they're not working on it already.
I'm just saying that's just how I feel. Like I feel like Dragon Age has to be successful,
Mm.
but we'll see. Next up, we had Starfield Shattered Space, which I thought looked really cool. Now we do have some more information courtesy of Mr. Matty Plays, who had an excellent interview with Todd Howard. He put out
Oh man,
yesterday.
huge
Yeah,
congrats to him.
yes, Mr. Matty Plays, one of the biggest Bethesda fans out there. Got to
That was a
interview the
great interview
God
as well.
Howard. One of the things that he meant, one of the big, because I was talking to Matty, and he was like, "What was the biggest thing for you that he talked about?" I was like, "Well, for me, it was basically Todd saying that they have plans for an expansion every year for Starfield, essentially moving
That
forward."
is so great.
It is.
I'm kind of disappointed that Cyberpunk gave up at 1. I mean, I
It took
kind of feel
3 years
that
to get to that point too, right? Like,
yeah, but it's like I was like, come on, we can get more Cyberpunk in here, surely. But it's cool to hear they're going to stick with Starfield because it really is just a blank canvas. Like so many planets that could shore up and stuff like that.
well,
So
because he did
yeah,
say the Shattered Space one is one location, which is great because one of the, I guess, negatives of Starfield was the constant star hopping you had to do, right? But it
huh.
sounds like the Shattered Space expansion takes place in one location. It looked, there was this, I don't know. I don't know if anybody else agrees with me in chat, but like all the Starfield marketing before always had kind of had this uplifting tone to it. Like even even the music, it was like you'd hear the music, but it always was uplifting. This
Hopeful.
hopeful, yeah, I guess maybe that's a better word than uplifting for this. Was that it was hopeful. Uh, Watching the trailer for this one, I didn't get that same sense. This one seemed more mysterious, more, there's like more dread. I don't know, maybe it's the color palette they were using, but
You could sense there was a sense of threat.
yeah, there was a
Yeah.
threat that maybe you didn't and maybe you could argue that was one of the drawbacks of Starfield was you didn't really have an antagonist until a little bit ways into the game. And this one with the trailer they were showing here, it was like, okay, there's some creepy stuff going on here, some weird stuff. Something seems to have gone wrong. Like, what's happening? Like, they set up the mystery pretty well here. And I love the use of there's some outside shots where there's like some rocks that are split apart, and the pinks and the purples it's using as the skyline, and bro, like I've been looking for a reason to get back into Starfield, and you're not gonna look. I'm not one of those people that's gonna be like, oh, we got a new update and there's some bounties out there or whatever, and the mods. Nah, that's not for me. I want new story content. So whenever this comes out, I will be there because I was kind of already interested in House Faroon. They're one of the major factions we didn't get a lot of history behind. That was mysteriously absent from the main game, and now we know why.
Yeah, there was that. One of the creepiest quests in the game revolves around House Faroon's embassy in New Atlantis, and you go in there. Like, I won't spoil it, but it's like the embassy inside is fucked.
Yeah,
for lack of a better word. And it's like, what the hell happened here? What were these
really
guys
cool.
into?
Yeah,
yeah. It was. I loved that mission. It was like, what the hell are these guys into? So like they what we do know is that they worship a giant space serpent.
yeah.
Or they say there's the great serpent, they call it, but it's like, is that a metaphor or is it a literal space serpent?
And maybe we'll find out.
One of the things I really love about Stellaris, right, is that it has giant space animals. It has like these giant sort of like space worms and space dragons and stuff that just sort of float through space and eat asteroids and stuff. I love that kind of sci-fi. So it makes me wonder, like, maybe there is going to be some kind of giant space snake or something like that. I would love that, because really, like, anything could happen, in space.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much out there. There's so much potential. So I love that they're sticking with it. And I really do think, like, I've said this before, I think history will be kind to Starfield. And like, with the amount of extra work they're putting in, I think history will be kind to Starfield.
Yeah. It's pretty cool to know that they have plans for expansions every year, that Starfield's going to be worked on, and the Starfield that we got to play at launch is probably going to look vastly different than the Starfield that's going to exist in 2027, right?
Yeah, we're getting ground vehicles.
Yeah, ground vehicles.
Which are actually buggies. Like I said before, we didn't know what they were, but I didn't realize there was like a brief clip of.
There's a very brief clip of it.
Yeah, so it's like actually, vehicles with wheels. In my head, I was like, can they get that to work in the engine, or is it going to be some sort of like hovering device or something? But no, wheels for reals. Wheels for reals. But yeah, I don't know. I'm really excited for that stuff, man.
No date on it.
No, I'm holding off. I'm holding off playing Starfield until that comes out.
I mean, there's no date on the DLC. It's a little surprising. Yeah. Maybe we get it at Gamescom, or sometime between now and then. You would figure, I don't know. You would figure it would come on the 1-year anniversary of the game's release. But there is a lot of stuff coming in early September. I mean, Microsoft themselves even has one of their own games, Age of Mythology, releasing then. So we'll see when Shattered Space comes out. They also had
while we're on the topic of Starfield, though, did you see the game's getting review bombed right now?
Yeah, because of paid mods. Paid mods. Yes,
yes,
I did see that. People aren't a fan of that.
Yeah, how do you feel about that? Because I'm of the mindset that if someone made something, I want to get paid for it.
I really don't have an opinion on that. I don't really use the mods, so to me, I don't even know what they are. So I don't I don't have an opinion either way. I know that some creators make them, and if it's a way for some creators to get, paid back, then I don't see what the big deal is. Maybe it's just everybody expects everything for free. But I'm interested in the expansion. I'm not interested in the mods that you can do. Like, maybe this says more about me, but I'm not really interested in turning my dude into, the bounty hunter, the Mandalorian from, or like Batman or some of these other mods that people talk about. That just never has appealed to me. It's not something that I sort of would feel like would ruin the game. Like, I'm running around as Batman and Starfield. Like, it would sort of take away from the story the game's trying to tell and all that stuff. Maybe it's just me not being able to separate that. Like I would think that just looks stupid. Like, oh, it's Batman. And I'm playing Starfield. It just makes me think everything's just ridiculous at that point.
Yeah. I think the issue is like, I mean, this has been a thing for a long time. Minecraft has paid mods. Roblox entire business model is paid mods. And yeah, I don't know. I think one of the things I think people were pissed about was that infinite storage chest costs money, which I think is kind of, and that's like one of Bethesda's approved mods, and it's kind of, that doesn't disable achievements when you install it. I kind of feel like it's kind of scummy to, you know, basically essentially remove something that should probably be in the base game and then sell it separately.
Right.
So I can see people being pissed off at that. But if it's like if it's like just some random person who's just like, I want to make a cool little mod and also get paid for it, I think that should be okay, you know. But what do I know?
We also had a trailer for Fallout 76.
Sorry, Tyler says the infinite storage chest is free. Okay, well, shut my mouth then. I got it mixed up with something else, maybe.
They showed up with some Fallout 76 as well as some ESO, which have been at these Xbox shows the last 3 years, so of course you know it's going to be there. I don't play either. I don't plan on playing either, so it's kind of the one time I wasn't paying attention to what was going on in the stream, because it's Fallout 76. I don't care. I will never care. I just don't care, right? But now Fallout 76 is like, hey, it's super popular because of the TV show, and Todd had mentioned that on Mr. Matty Plays' interview with them and stuff, and they got more content and everything planned out for Fallout 76 for years to come, and
you can play as a ghoul.
You can play as the ghoul, I think, starting next year, 2025.
Yep.
But yeah, you can expect Fallout 76 to be at every Xbox show moving forward. Is kind of the way it is, but it's not something.
Oh, good.
Well, I'm just saying you can expect it to be there because it is what it is.
It's good. It's a great game.
But this game, Jez, really made an impression on me. One of the third-party games to really strike a chord. Even now, like when I'm thinking about it, I just thought about how cool it looked, and it's Claire Obscure Expedition 33.
Oh, dude, that was like one of my other games of the show.
Yeah,
that's the problem. Is like I can't pick one game of the show.
That's because there's so many you could choose from, and that's why you know it's such a good show. But as somebody who's not really into turn-based RPGs, right? There is some.
You like Final Fantasy VII?
Well, yeah, but I mean, I like Final Fantasy VII when I was younger. You know, when I played through it 5 times, and Final Fantasy VII Remake is not a turn-based RPG. That is an action RPG. Right? This, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the camera movements and the perspectives that shows overlaid. It almost kind of seemed like when I was watching it, I was just like, man, this is kind of what Final Fantasy should be. In a way. Like the presentation of the battles, the rhythm base, like press A here maybe to do more damage. I don't know, but it was super stylistic. And I think it's even playing right now. It's kind of cool that it lined up in the way that we're talking about it now. It's on screen.
Yeah, maybe we need to try and do that for the rest of the talk.
Well, I don't know. Like we would need a producer for that, and we don't have one. But it just kind of lined up this way.
Let's steal Jesse.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. But I really liked everything about this trailer. It looks cool. It's coming to Game Pass. That was the other thing about the show. Everything's on Play One on Game Pass, despite what you might hear about Xbox. What was it? Xbox was diminishing Game Pass, or the focus on Game Pass is going to lessen, or whatever.
Moving away from
Game Pass. Like,
what complete bullshit, man.
Okay, but yeah, Claire Obscure Expedition 33. I mean, do you have anything else you wanted to add to it? Because that really impressed me.
Yeah, that really impressed me too. I was like, that looks fantastic. It kind of like the stuff, the QuickTime sort of events where you can do more damage. That really reminded me of it kind of reminded me of stuff like Legend of Dragoon, because Legend of Dragoon kind of had that back in the day on PS1, and I've always like wanted a AAA looking classic Final Fantasy, and we've never really got it. There's been some indie games that were pretty good. but they didn't really look as good as this. So this looks like yeah, it could really sort of. I hope it does well, because maybe Square Enix would be like, oh, maybe we should go back to classic gameplay. I don't know.
Well,
We'll see.
this would be like how classic gameplay could be brought back to Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
In a very cinematic, in a very cinematic way. Like
I kind of feel like Final Fantasy 13 tried to do that a little bit, you know.
Yeah, it did.
But that is also very old now.
It is very old. So that was a standout. And then maybe I have here for my biggest surprise of the show, and that's South of Midnight. Because, as I've stated repeatedly, I have never been a fan of compulsion games. I will be what you would describe as a compulsion hater.
Oh, man.
Because We Happy Few wasn't good, and neither was Contrast. And I don't understand why Xbox bought them. All their other purchases in 2018, I understood. This one, I didn't. I was like, what are you doing? I think I mentioned to Phil one time, I don't know why you bought them. So when we saw South of Midnight last year, I was like, okay. It'd be interesting to see what this game actually looks like. Not expecting much from them. Jez, I gotta tell you, I might have to eat some crow, because wow, did that game look impressive.
Yep.
I couldn't be more happy to be wrong. Now, granted, we haven't played the game yet. The game still could be bad, but I like to be more positive, because, especially when it's a hobby you care about. There's some people that are always just super negative about everything, but I'd rather keep it positive for the most part. And I saw it, and I'm like, even Gamsley I was like, this is the game? Like, that excellent transition from, like, she's riding the mudfish or whatever the hell it is. She jumps off. Catfish, whatever. And it transitions.
Mudfish?
Whatever the hell it's called. I don't know. Mudcat, mudfish, catfish, whatever. Whatever it is.
Mudkips.
And that transition to gameplay was really good. And then it's like, I'm sitting there, I'm like, is this what the game is? Holy shit. I was like, no way, this is... I kind of get like Metroidvania-ish kind of vibes, because she has a double jump and a glide, and in my mind, I'm like, oh, you probably earn those in some manner. And I like this. Maybe
you have to use them to unlock extra areas.
Yeah,
like,
combat. Like, bro, it literally blew all my expectations out of the water. And I'm so happy to be wrong about it, because it was a show stealer, dude, and it's like one of many about this show. That even now I'm still thinking about it a week later, and when you talk about like the best things of the show, you can name like 5 different things and you could all be right. But love the art style. I know some people have issues with the stop motion because the character sort of animates on the 2s. The rest of the world is at 60 frames, but she's not. And so
is that even in gameplay?
Yeah, that's even in gameplay. It's in the cutscenes in the gameplay, and some people can't handle that, so I wonder if they're going to have some sort of toggle where you could toggle it off. But like the music, the visuals, bro, you're talking about a game that I had zero interest in to a game that I'm like, okay, if Xbox came to me, he's like, you want a preview of this game? I'd be like, absolutely.
Yeah,
I think it could be something really cool. It's coming out next year. You have anything to add to that? Because I was shocked. I was stunned.
No, I thought it looked fantastic. I want to see more about the gameplay, like if it is a Metroidvania kind of sort of, because I'm someone who thinks the first Arkham game was the best one.
I mean, you can make that claim. I think City's the best. I think City's the best one. I don't think if I had to pick and choose, I think City's the best. But I could see why you would say Arkham is.
I just hate the boring open world. I don't like the open world in those games. But like 3D Metroidvanias are like few and far in between, and when they're doing well, they work really, really well. So like if it is truly Metroidvania, that'll make me way more interested in it. But yeah, like the presentation, I thought it looks fantastic. I actually love the stop motion. I grew up on Wallace and Gromit as a kid, being a Brit. So yeah, I'm all about that stuff.
Yeah. No,
did you watch Wallace and Gromit as a kid?
I did not, but I know what Wallace and Gromit is.
Yeah. I love that shit, man.
Um.
Oh, I forgot you were like already in your 40s when Modern
Oh
Warfare
yeah,
was
shut up. They had a trailer for World of Warcraft: A War Within. We don't need to talk about that.
What?
Moving on. Moving
You're
on
capping
from
right
that.
now. No, you're
Moving
fucking
on from
capping,
the.
Rand.
Excuse me.
You said you're capping.
I am.
You said to me on Discord that you thought that looked good, that trailer.
I mean, the Blizzard cinematics always look good. It's just too bad it's tied to lame ass gameplay from 30 years ago. You know?
Oh yeah, I don't know. But yeah, the Blizzard cinematics are just on another
I mean,
level.
yeah, there's no denying how incredible the Blizzard cinematics look.
No. I mean, bro, that was in engine footage. What are you talking about?
Yeah, you wish it was in engine footage. Maybe more people would play it if it didn't look like a PS2 turd.
Christ.
Man. But the War Within, the expansion, comes out August 26th, which is the day before my birthday. So they're about to ruin my birthday with this. We had a trailer for Snake, Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. Really good trailer. Showcased the game a lot better than their previous ones, to the point where I know there was kind of people were kind of down on the game previously, but I thought this was a fantastic trailer.
My only issue with that is it's Konami.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't trust anything they do. So I'm almost thinking like
there's something
they're gonna
wrong.
split it into. Yeah, there's gonna be a caveat. Like they're gonna split it into 2 games or something. There's gonna be something wrong with this.
It looks really good though. It looks so good. It looks
look
like
good.
what I imagined. You're like, oh, if you remake Metal Gear Solid 3 on current gen, what it would look like. I mean, this is one of my favorite games ever. So I'll definitely be playing it. But that trailer was really good. Sea of Thieves showed up. They got a new season coming July 25th, I believe. It's blowing up PlayStation, as we mentioned, the #1 selling game there, which is a testament to Rare. It's a testament to the game. Because it's not like the game's new. Sea of Thieves is 6 years old at this point. Yeah, 6 years old at this point. Came out in 2018. I mean, it's kind of crazy
Is it bigger than PUBG yet?
Don't you still got a long ways to go to hit PUBG numbers. I do remember when you made that tweet. But no, it's kind of crazy that it went to PlayStation and just not only did well, but essentially dominated. I don't know what that says about, because you figured, I think it just really more speaks to some people just want to play their games on the place that they're at, and that they're never going to buy other hardware to experience something just because, unless there's an overwhelming amount of games that they would miss. But then again, Sea of Thieves is still very unique in its own space. There's nothing like it. Even that Ubisoft game, Skull and Bones, isn't like it.
Is that game still alive?
I think it is. I mean, when you look at Sea of Thieves, no game has copied it and how successful it is. But then you look at like Concord, which is like, oh, we're bringing back a hero shooter 5v5, and then Riot's like, we're bringing Valorant to consoles, and that's a hero shooter. And then Xbox had their own hero shooter here with Fragpunk.
Oh yeah, that Fragpunk thing.
It's like, what's the resurgence of these hero shooters? And that whole market is so saturated. But then you look at Sea of Thieves and it's like, nobody else is doing this.
No.
Where you could look at Concord and it's like, bro, Concord, you might
Concord's
have
gonna have its work.
You're gonna have your work cut out for you because you have all the existing shooters already out there, and all the existing hero shooters, plus a new entry into the field, Valorant, Marvel Rivals. Both of those are free, and you're going to charge $40? Good luck, I guess. Flintlock showed up here, which is coming to Game Pass next month, from the developers of Ashen. I thought it looked cool. I know there's a demo out now on Steam, but I don't do demos. I thought the trailer was pretty good. Definitely the best trailer that they've put out. It got me really interested in checking the game out when it comes out next month.
Yeah, my colleagues played it, and Samuel, I think, played it, and he really liked it. So, Yeah, I'm pretty bullish on that.
Yeah, Age of Mythology Retold, September 4th. I mean, I don't got really much to say about that. I didn't play Age of Mythology. I know this is kind of big for PC users. It is coming to console day one, which is a change. Normally these don't. But that seems to be starting off the release cadence for Xbox's holiday season.
Yeah.
That also does have a 7-day early access premium edition as well.
Mm.
I don't know if you get that through Game Pass. Maybe it's just the purchase one, but I'm sure the Age Mythology peeps out there probably are loving it. And then
Yeah, I think we played that as well. So seems like a really great, retelling of it,
Yeah.
retold.
And then we got another game of the show, something that a lot of people weren't expecting, or at least expecting to look the way it did. And I want to hear what you think about this. Perfect Dark. Tell me what you think, Jez.
Yeah, I mean, I did not expect it to look as good as it did,
Yeah, that's
or
true.
at least not as stylish as it
Because
did.
there were rumors previously that it was in development hell, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a hard road to get it. I know it has. Jeff Grubb alluded to that previously, and it's the developers have gone through the ringer. They've like changed the whole format of the studio, and it has been a tough road to get here. But it looks like they're finally here. They're moving in the right direction, and the game's really taking shape now. And we really saw the fruits of that. I'm not a fan of the original Perfect Dark. I never played it. I don't know if
What
you
about
did.
Perfect Dark Zero?
I never played any Perfect Dark. I've never played it.
I played some of the multiplayer Perfect Dark Zero. Didn't really care for it. Never played Perfect Dark on the 64. So yeah.
Yeah. But I'm not someone who's got nostalgia for Perfect Dark. So I don't know if it's like, for me, it's like I don't really care if it's like the original or not, because like I say, I never played the original. So as someone who's coming in completely fresh, I thought it looked fantastic. Like the whole John Wick style shooting and stuff. I thought that was really they've really nailed that sort of, I don't know, that fantasy of being a sort of secret agent.
Yeah.
They really nailed that whole fantasy. What I'm sort of interested to learn more about is like, people keep saying it's immersive sim.
Well,
I keep hearing this.
It has it looks like it has some immersive sim vibes.
Yeah, I just wondered like the extent to that, because like if you start calling something an immersive sim, you start comparing it to the greats like Deus Ex,
Yes.
or like Prey even, or any of the other these like Thief even, or any of these other sort of classic sort of immersive sims where you've got just mountains and mountains of options and stuff. I'm wondering, like, is it really going to be that much of immersive sim, or is it going to be like a little bit more linear and stuff like that? Because it's kind of risky when you start saying a game's immersive sim, because that comes with a lot of expectations attached to it. So I'm intrigued to learn more about it, but I think they nailed the fantasy, the whole hacking and the spy thing. I just hope the story's good. I hope it's got good villains.
We do have some info about Perfect Dark that, you see, all these things that we're talking about, or all these games, also had their own Xbox Wire post that had more information. So Xbox Wire basically says that the game is a single-player experience with missions, and that the missions present players with an objective, but let them figure out how they want to achieve it. It takes in elements of first-person shooters, immersive sims, parkour, and stealth action.
See, the mission-based structure does make it sound less like...
Yeah, missions can be approached loud or go quiet, offering a risk-reward for both. So yeah, if it's like just mission-based, where you're in a singular level and it's like, okay, well, here's your objective, go do it. You could have that immersive sim quality where maybe it's like, oh, there's an area where I can parkour, mirror's edge parkour and get into a window. Or maybe, they show in the trailer, maybe I copy this guy's voice and there's a way to hack it in, or what have you, like different sort of things to do to get in. But like, that's what was so cool to me, because I didn't know what to expect from Perfect Dark, right? And you start off and you see it in first person and you're like, okay, this looks stylized, but it looks still cool, right? And then you have the thing where you have the vision and you're like, okay, here are the enemies. I need to kind of be a little bit stealthy. And I'm like, and you know how much I've talked about stealth games and how I feel it's a underrepresented genre now. We don't get a lot of stealth games anymore.
Underrepresented?
Maybe I said the word wrong. Underrepresented, right? Whatever. You know what I mean? Like, we don't get a lot of stealth games in this day and age. So when you present a game like this to me, where okay, you could go loud, you could go silently, I'm very much of like, I'm gonna go the stealth option. So it's nice to see them focus on like, okay, you know, we're sneaking, we're using our gadgets, because this game's going to be gadget heavy to kind of like get through this area, and we're going to stealthily get to where we need to go. And you're right. That's a good descriptor of the gunplay, was John Wick-ish, where you would like slide, shoot somebody, and take them out. So you're talking about a game that we were kind of had concerns with about the development cycle. You know, Crystal Dynamics has been through a lot with Embracer, which, by the way, I don't know if you just saw, but they shut down another studio yesterday.
Yeah, they did.
So you're like, okay,
the studio behind Alone in the Dark.
Yes. So you're sitting there like, okay, how good is this game really going to be? Crystal Dynamics has been through the ringer, and they're a great developer. Like, I love all the Tomb Raider games. I even like most of the single player of Marvel Avengers. It's like, okay, it's a really good dev, and what they showed here really impressed me. And I think it really impressed a lot of other people. People loved, when I was watching the reactions, people were digging it, and they couldn't believe this was Perfect Dark. Yeah. I don't know. It just feels really good to just, you have this roadmap of stuff coming in the next 3 years, and it's all filled with fantastic looking shit. I mean, when's the last time you could really say that with Xbox? It was always like, oh, in 2020 they showed us these games and we know they're coming, but we don't have any clue. And every E3 would come by and the games weren't there and be like, where the fuck is all this stuff?
And now the meme would be wait for next year, right?
Yeah, and everything was just whatever. And even Phil mentioned in his interview, like, how many times did I have to come to E3 and basically show a new Forza, Gears, or a Halo game and try to sell that and make it seem fresh and exciting? Like, even he was very, very much feeling the same thing. It's like, wow, we have potentially Xbox's best show ever, and not a single mention of Halo. Now, does that say more about Xbox's lineup of games, or more about the fact that where Halo is at as a franchise at this point? Which then says, like, well, what does that mean for the management of Halo? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, the whole Halo thing's a separate discussion. I think I said to Ackman on Twitter not to expect Halo at the show. But yeah, Halo's a whole nother thing. Yeah. But Perfect Dark looked great. Dude. And I'm curious what the mission structure will look like, if it's actually rewarding or not. I mean, it worked really well for Hitman, but Hitman also has massive maps and massive levels. Yeah. And yeah,
maybe the Hitman kind of approach works, where it's, you can do 6 missions or whatever, but each one of those missions is just ridiculous in how it's laid out with all these different, like, the Hitman games are amazing, and clearly people love them because they're still being even played now. So maybe that's what they go for. But either way, it was nice to see Perfect Dark. No date. Like I mentioned before, I think it's 2026, teaming up with Gears and teaming up with State of Decay, just as an example. So I still think it's a couple years away. But I don't really have a problem with them showing a game and then knowing at most it's 2 years away. I'm perfectly fine with the 2 year from announced to reveal. Granted, it hasn't been that for Perfect Dark because they revealed it in 2020, so it's been a lot longer. But I'm perfectly okay with, if this is how Xbox wants to do it, where, like last year, they bring back Fable and South of Midnight, and then this year you get Fable and South of Midnight, and they date it for the next year. I'm perfectly fine with that. So if you we see Perfect Dark this year, and then there's no date, and then next E3 or next showcase, here's Perfect Dark again with more gameplay, and then they date it for 2026. If that's how Xbox wants to do it with 2 years, I'm fine with that cadence. Where you show me a game, you show me some stuff from it, and there's no date the first time, and then the following year, here's some more of it, and it's coming out the next year. I'd be okay if that's how they wanted to transition with everything they were doing. Personally.
I don't mind that.
We had the cinematic trailer for Diablo 4, which looked crazy and ridiculous and over the top and bloody and violent and just being like, oh my god.
Yeah, I met Rod Ferguson and I was
Yeah.
like, how are you gonna do Nirel like that? They literally split her arms down
Yes.
the middle.
Yes.
That was grim as hell.
And I think this was even a censored version of the trailer, was it
Censored
not?
version?
At least some.
I don't know.
I don't know. I remember reading something that this was a censored version of the trailer, which would be like, if this was a censored version, I wonder what the uncensored one looks like.
Jesus.
But no, I mean,
Jesus.
the Blizzard, just very much like the World of Warcraft stuff. Blizzard cinematics are just on another level. It's just unfortunate they're tied to the games they're tied to. Because as you guys well know, Jez is playing Diablo 4 right now, and it's just click 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 click. You know, just old ass gameplay.
It takes skill to click that fast.
Yeah,
dude.
So Diablo's that's coming out October 8th. Vessel of Hatred. I've already seen it on the Xbox store. I think it's going for $50 or something, maybe 40. Expensive, but it's supposed to be continue on with the campaign, right? New story content and whatnot.
Yep, it's new. It's a campaign extension, new area. They're adding a whole extra zone, but also a new class. So tons of content really coming there, and also probably like new endgame systems too. Because the endgame's still a mess, man. Like season 4 is a huge step in the right direction, but it's still nowhere near where it needs to be, in my opinion. Me and oh no, it's Alex on Twitter go back and forth about Diablo and Path of Exile, but like, a lot of his criticisms are completely on point about like Diablo's endgame still being not where it needs to be. But you know, maybe we'll get a bigger step forward there with the expansion, and you know that's coming out in. Did they announce the launch date? It's October 8th.
Right? October 8th is the announced date.
It's right in time for my birthday.
Dude, I love how they came out with Perfect Dark. They re-debut it. Matt Booty takes the stage, which honestly, when Matt Booty took the stage, I was like, are they ending the show? Because he was sort of given like a wrap-up. And I'm like, no, it's only been 30 minutes. But I was getting worried. And then they went into Diablo, and then they went into Fable. And it's like 3 big, huge franchises that they own now, right? Diablo. But Fable was my game of the show.
Oh, really? I didn't expect that.
Well, maybe it would have been Gears, but Gears was an engine. Fable looked as good as it did next year, and they explicitly made sure to throw in the bottom of the trailer that it was in-game footage. Right? So it's the game. Because remember, there was a lot of talk about how the game looked last year. And yeah, because right now, it's playing right now. Here's Fable. It says in-game footage at the bottom, which means it's gameplay. It's in-game, right? There was a lot of talk last year that, it's not going to look like that. And everybody kind of came out to defend it and be like, no, this is what the game is. Yeah, okay, there's no HUD or whatever, but this is taken directly from a Series X. So this shows up again, and another fantastic trailer. And you get some elements of gameplay, walking around the city. Bowerstone looks amazing. And the story that the guy's telling about essentially how he knew this girl and she made all the wrong choices and she's terrifying and all this stuff, overlaid with your character, or the character at least maybe that's being played here, going through the forest, meeting the frog. You know, snippets of here's she shooting an arrow and some sword stuff, but the tone of the game that they're setting here, combined with the visuals, bro, I don't know what to expect from a studio whose claim to fame is to essentially taking a racing game, taking that racing game and eclipsing what, you know, it's a spin-off, and eclipsing what it becoming bigger than what it spun off of was, right? And then essentially coming to dominate the entire racing genre. Like, nobody can touch Forza Horizon. Period. End of story. There's no racing game out there that is doing what it does to the success that it's doing it and to the critical acclaim that it's been doing it for years now. And so the question mark was always in my head of like, okay, you got a racing studio. How are they going to make Fable? And this is a franchise people love from the 360 days. How are you actually going to modernize it for now, especially when you have titles like The Witcher 3, which redefined what an action RPG is, right? And then you see last year and how it looked, and people were just like, oh, it can't look like that. It's possible. They're like, no, it does. And then they come and show it again with an even better trailer, with more, declarations that this is the game. And every time you see it, it looks better and better and better. I'm sitting here being like, yo, Playground's about to declare themselves like one of the best studios in the entire goddamn industry. If they can bring back Fable and have it look like that and have it play well and be critically acclaimed as well as a commercial smash, not to mention also do Forza Horizon 6, which dominates the racing genre, you're talking about one of the best studios in the goddamn world at that point.
Agree. They have hired some really high-end talent. It's funny you mentioned like The Witcher, because a bunch of, The Witcher 3 devs actually went to work on Fable. So, the coolest thing about that trailer for me was the appearance of Super Hands from Peep Show. There's so many like famous British actors in this. You got Matt Berry, you got Richard Ayoade, and now you've got Super Hands. I don't know the actor's name. I only know him as Super Hands. I sort of
wonder if that trailer and all those characters are like strictly for advertisement purposes and they won't be in the game. I would imagine they both are
in the game.
But like that trailer is probably just, I'm not saying they're not in the game, but I'm talking about that trailer specifically. Is that something where we're actually going to, yeah, you're right. It probably is going to be like how you learn about the bad person. So like that voiceover.
Oh, you mean the voiceover?
Yeah, like the voiceover is what I meant.
Yeah, I imagine, the way I imagine it is like, as you're traveling through the world, you go to like different sort of areas and sections, and like it's sort of like this is their part of the story.
Yeah.
And then you have to defeat them or work with them or whatever.
Dude,
but it is the level of actors they're getting in this like is crazy.
Dude,
this is like
it's so
it's
impressive.
Got to be the budget. Yeah, the budget's got to be.
It's so fucking impressive, and then they end it with it coming 2025, and so it's their big game for next year. And honestly, it should be. Although you'd want to avoid Grand Theft Auto, make sure you avoid Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, Jesus.
I mean, every game's got to avoid Grand Theft Auto. It's and you imagine, maybe I don't know if your Xbox. Do you want Grand Theft Auto to come out at the beginning of 2025 or the end of 2025? Because I would imagine that's going to screw up a lot of your plans. I mean, no, it does matter.
The beginning, like if it comes out in January, that would probably be ideal.
Well, no, I'm just saying it does matter because you can't release. If Grand Theft Auto is coming out on October 5th, you can't release Fable October 12th, right? You just can't. So you either release Fable like a month before or a month later. Like you can't release it anywhere close to that game. No game can release. I mean, the only thing that maybe could is Call of Duty. But I think they have huge aspirations for Fable. And I think it would be like a mistake to release it anywhere close to Grand Theft Auto 6. But either way, every time I see this game, I'm just super impressed. When you watched all these trailers again in 4K on my TV, I was just like, how is this game looking like this? Because it's the Forza Tech engine. And it's crazy how incredible it looks. So, I would imagine we kind of know what the developer direct is for next year, Jez, in January. You're probably going to have South of Midnight, Fable, Doom Eternal, or Doom the Dark Ages, and what would be another game? Clockwork Revolution, probably.
That is stacked. And then you've got expansions as well.
And then like there's potential for a Forza Horizon 6 next year and all the other things that might release, like Towerborn. Where the hell's Towerborn? Paris talked about Gamescom. Are they going to show up to Gamescom and be like, here's Towerborn with the release date? Hey, here's your first look at Contraband coming out 2026. Here's Outer Worlds 2. Like, if they're really planning on some huge Gamescom thing, you know?
I did hear about Towerborn is that they want to add more content to it,
Okay.
like story
so
content.
do you think it hits this year, or do you think they hold off and maybe it's early next year?
I'm not sure. I mean,
Does it
if
even
they
fit
are, like,
anymore? Like, because you look at what they have now with Age of Mythology and Aria History Untold in September and Black Ops in October, and then
maybe not. Maybe you do Towerborn like spring next year. Maybe.
I'm just kind of curious to see if there even is a spot for it anymore.
It's hard because some of these projects were they were probably greenlit back when Xbox was kind of desperate for content, right? And I think like Towerborn, like back in the day, maybe could have released as is, but now it's sort of competing with much bigger games. I probably need more investment to really get to another level. So maybe it is coming out a little bit later than previously expected. But Towerborn's really fun. I just wonder, like, is it gonna have the amount of content and endgame stuff like an online game kind of needs? I kind of feel like Towerborn will be my go-to handheld game for a while.
Right.
But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
And in every show they kind of have you have your peaks and you have your valleys, and usually the valleys are the indie content. So you had a stretch here where they showed off Fragpunk, which is another hero shooter, but you kind of use cards.
Yeah, not interested in that.
You have this mouse game called Winterborough. Not really sure what else to really say about that. You have a game here called Mixtape from the developers of The Artful Escape. The art style was eye-catching, and the whole like idea of like the music. I don't know. It definitely at least looked like something I would be maybe interested in down the road. So I was okay. That's cool. Trailer for Microsoft Flight Sim, and every time they go Xbox Game Studios and then I see a Sobo right afterwards, I'm like, oh, they finally bought a Sobo, and then I realize, oh no, it's Microsoft Flight Sim. Like, God damn it! Like, get a Sobo before they get bought by somebody else. So that's coming November 19th. I mean, it looks incredible. These trailers they always put out for Microsoft Flight Sim are top notch.
Yep.
I don't really have any interest in it, but those games always do pretty well. Like I mentioned, Elder Scrolls Online trailer. I think that content's coming this week. Maybe I think it's even tomorrow. The Gold Road for Elder Scrolls Online. Just hitting out of the park with the content. Like Fallout 76 just had the Skyline Ridge, right? Where it was an expansion, the first map expansion to the game.
I haven't even started that yet.
And now Elder Scrolls Online is having an expansion. Another big surprise is Life is Strange Double Exposure with the returning protagonist of the first Life is Strange, Max.
I wish they just called that Life is Strange 3.
Yeah, you probably... But there's... What is this, the fifth Life is Strange game now?
Yeah, so they should have just... It's Max, though. They should have just called it Life is Strange 3.
But it's interesting. I did see some people talking about that it's kind of unfair that Deck 9 is bringing back Max when it was Dontnod that originally did the first game, and they're not involved with the franchise anymore, and here's another developer bringing back the main character from the first one.
Well, I don't know. I kind of feel that's what people want. Max's story was...
Yeah.
Life is Strange just never hit that level.
Did you hear how there's no canon ending? Like, you choose the ending you want from the first game?
I love that too.
I think that's
Dragon
weak.
Age.
I think that's weak.
What? Why?
Stick to a canon ending. Stick to an ending. Like,
no.
Yes. I think it's
Dragon
weak.
Age Valguard is also letting you choose.
I also think that's weak.
Nah.
This isn't...
Dragon Age has an amazing system where you can choose all the major decisions from every game and then port it into the new game.
Yeah, but does
Mass Effect does as well.
I don't know. I'm just thinking of other... Because remember the two choices, like your two endings in Life is Strange and what they were, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you would think there's a lot of variation on how Max would feel depending on which one actually happened.
Yeah, but I mean, if they execute it well.
I mean,
like in like for example, I almost always kill Rex when I play Mass Effect.
Yes.
And insubordination, right? I never feel like when you play Mass Effect 3 and you do Tachanka and stuff without Rex, I never feel like, oh, this game, this is clearly designed for Rex. I never felt that. They executed that really well. So if they execute that well, then I don't see like it's a big...
I mean, we'll see. I mean, I can't wait to play it. I really liked Life is Strange 1, so I'm super interested in this. Murder mystery, supernatural murder mystery, where her friend's dead in one parallel universe and alive in the other, and she can kind of go in between and do some detective work. That sounds super cool. And it's coming out this year, October 29th. So sign me up. Now, Jez, what I'm going to say next might shock you, because we had Indiana Jones, which is still one of my most anticipated games the rest of this year. Still no date on it. We'll see if they hit this year. We'll see if they hit 2024. But I have to say, as a trailer for the game, I thought maybe this was the most underwhelming one that Xbox showed.
Oh.
Because I sort of feel like nobody, like when you talk about the games that made an impression for people at the showcase, they'll say Call of Duty, especially if they're a Call of Duty person. Definitely the Doom, definitely Expedition 33. Some people will talk about Starfield. Other people will be like Perfect Dark was the one that really stood out to me. South of Midnight with its gameplay reveal. People talk about Gears of War E-Day, clearly, right? And even some will talk about Life is Strange or Mixtape and Fable, right? There's a lot of games here that people talk about. And I feel like nobody's talking about Indiana Jones at all, because they blew their load in January when they basically this Indiana Jones stuff was they started it off with gameplay we already seen from the dev direct, and they bookended it with some stuff we already seen from the direct, and then in between was this long cinematic cutscene that I feel didn't really... I feel like it went on for too long, and I feel like setting it on that ship where everything's in the snow, I just feel like it wasn't visually appealing. Granted, like you had the Nazi guy kind of being like, oh, like doing the funny thing that everybody's turned into a meme now, but nobody's talking about the game. And which maybe that's a good thing, because you have all these other great things that people show, and Indiana Jones is coming out at the end of the year and there's still time to market it up. But I feel like what they chose to use to showcase it let it down, because we had seen so much of it in January that when just seeing a long cutscene set in the snow didn't really, I don't know, it wasn't really super exciting. Like, and I get why they did it, right? You have a lot of new people who probably didn't even see that showcase in January, so they're watching it, but they want to see Indiana Jones, and the gameplay is all mostly first person perspective. So I think they want to okay, this is Indiana Jones. He sounds like Harrison Ford, and I think they wanted to get over okay, this is going to be like an Indiana Jones movie, right? Rest assured. And I'm sure the game's going to be absolutely great, fantastic. I just sort of felt like this cutscene in particular was the wrong choice for the show, I guess.
I think one of the issues I have with that gameplay footage was that we haven't. I mean, when they show combat, they don't give you a good look at it. It's always like these very quick cuts. And you know what else did that? That kind of annoyed me.
What? In
the Redfall. Redfall, for some reason, tried to really hide its combat, and now we know why. So I'm wondering if they're not happy with the way the combat presents right now, which is why they're not really giving us a good look at it. But yeah, I don't know. That's a conspiracy theory.
Well, the combat, like I said, the combat is all first person, and this is supposed to be an Indiana Jones game, and you don't really get to see Indiana Jones in the combat. So I get why they presented a trailer where you can clearly see Indiana Jones, and and Troy Baker's doing a great job to sound like Harrison Ford. I
Is that Troy Baker?
Yes, that's Troy Baker.
Holy shit!
Mm-hmm.
That guy's a wizard, man.
He's really good. And that's why I feel like they did this. I think they just picked the wrong scene. Now, I mean, it is funny because the guy going, choo choo, choo choo, you know, like there is like that humorous villain thing they got going on here. And I'm sure the game's going to be great. I just would have picked something else. Or
Yeah,
I just wouldn't have had the game at the developer direct. And I would have shown some of the stuff here. And people would have been shocked. They would be like, Indiana Jones, and this is what it looks like. Great. I think people already have blown their load because they had saw it last year. Or they had saw it earlier in the year. Either way, it's coming out, you know, supposedly this year, maybe in December. I can't wait to play it. You know, I'm kind of really looking forward to an Indiana Jones, an actual Indiana Jones game. You know, like I just would have picked a different cutscene to show. If you wanted to show like Indiana Jones in a long cutscene, I would have chose something else personally.
I always thought it was weird they only made 3 Indiana Jones movies.
5, but I know what you're trying to say. I know what you're trying to say. We got a trailer for Mecha Break, which was a mech-inspired game that kind of looked like Armored Core, super fast-paced, look cool, coming next year.
Pretty good, yeah.
We got as I mentioned before, we talked about the Souls-like games. Another one of these Souls-like dime a dozen experiences called Wukong Fallen Feathers. Looked interesting.
Are we tired of Souls-likes now?
I mean, I'm not necessarily tired of them. I'm just saying that I get why this is a copycat industry, right? How many times have we talked about it? Whatever's popular, developers copy it. And what developers love Souls-like games. They love Elden Ring. They love Dark Souls. And you want to you make games that you're inspired by. And it just so happens that, you know, Elden Ring also a couple years ago set the world on fire. I think they even announced 25 million copies have sold for Elden Ring, which is ridiculous amount.
Did you see what Miyazaki said about Elden Ring recently?
What did he say?
He said, I still haven't made my perfect RPG, but I'm getting close.
I did see that.
So he's not happy with Elden Ring. He still wants to make it better.
Well, we'll see what Elden Ring 2 is going to have or whatever else they decide to do. But yeah, I'm not surprised there's a whole bunch of games like this because there is an audience for it. And, you know, you can have really interesting enemy designs and grotesque stuff to kind of set yourself apart. But it all comes down to feel and gameplay. So we'll see how that game fares. Avowed showed up here with a pretty good trailer. Not going to lie. We even got more information. There's a third-person camera change that you can do, so you can play the game in first person or third person. But I think Avowed's, if not your most anticipated game the rest of the year. Is this true? Am I wrong on this?
Well, I mean, Vessel of Hatred.
Well, outside of like I'm new game. I meant like new game.
Outside of, you know, Vessel of Hatred and
World of Warcraft. Yeah.
But yeah, I suppose Avowed would be up there. You know, it looks really, really good.
Did you know there was a switch to third person? Is that something you knew already?
They added that relatively recently, I think. I don't think that was never in before. So they've reacted a lot to the feedback. I think they said in some of the interviews and stuff to the original gameplay showing. They wanted to make the melee combat feel more weighty and you know, more impactful when you actually connect your weapons and stuff. But yeah, Tony B in chat said it best. The more I see of Avowed, the more I want it, and I think it looks really, really good. I really want to see like how the story unfolds and like how much of a impact your decisions make, because that's a big thing in the Outer Worlds. Is like your story choices actually have like a lot of meaningful impact. Like who you can side with can change the entire, like, the factions that control the cities, you know, in that sort of New Vegas-y kind of tradition. I hope it's like that. Your decisions matter to that extent. But I always get nervous these days when it comes to games like doing choice-based stuff because I don't know. It feels like the industry sort of retreated from doing decision-based stuff in recent years. Obviously, like Baldur's Gate being an outlier and the Owlcat games and stuff like that. But yeah, we'll see. I'm sort of in a almost wait and see mood with Avowed. But
Okay.
it looks pretty good.
I mean, it definitely looked better than before.
Yeah, dude.
So that leaked date was November 12th. They didn't give a date yet. So we will see. Maybe we'll get a date at Gamescom. Moving forward. What else we got here? Adam Fall from Rebellion. I was kind of surprised to see a Rebellion here, and that it was a new IP, not something like Nazi Army or Sniper Elite 6. But Adam Fall coming to Game Pass day one. Assassin's Creed Shadows. Jez, I gotta tell you, Assassin's Creed Shadows. I watched this. I watched the gameplay. Dude, I am pretty excited for that game. Like,
yeah,
both play styles look a lot of fun to play. Like I told you, I'm a stealth person, so I might play as a stealth character. But the big ass samurai dude, he looks like a lot of fun too. I don't know. I haven't been really excited for Assassin's Creed game in a while.
Yeah.
But this one is really. I see that stuff and I'm like, this looks cool as hell.
It looks super violent, and it's like I was kind of like thinking, like, are they gonna like really deliver on the violence expectation? Because when you think of ninjas and katanas, you think of like chopping bits of body parts off, right? And like I know like Assassin's Creed sort of goes violent sometimes and then less violent in other games and stuff like that, but it looks like they've nailed the fantasy. So yeah, we'll see. I'm pretty excited for that too.
Let me ask you
I haven't been excited for Assassin's Creed in a long time.
Let me ask you this question. I want to hear what you think. I want to hear what chat thinks on this one. So Assassin's Creed Shadows coming out November 15th. We know that Black Ops is the 25th of October. You can probably look at the two biggest games of the holiday right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Assassin's Creed Shadows. Avowed is supposed to come out November 12th. Ooh. Well, at least to the rumors, right, that they put out in their blog post. So I'm going to ask you this question. Would you release Avowed 3 days before the new Assassin's Creed? What do you do with Avowed?
No.
Where would you release Avowed? Because I feel...
Start December.
Okay, where do you do with Indiana Jones then?
Is Indiana Jones this year as well?
Yes. They still say it's 2024, and Tom Warren said it was targeting December.
Jesus.
And remember, Microsoft Flight Sim is November 19th. So I was just curious because we both agree Assassin's Creed Shadows, I think it's going to be huge. I think it's going to be massive.
I think it is, yeah.
And you have a game...
Oh, shit. I never realized that. Damn.
And Avowed's leak release date's the 12th, which is 3 days before. And even the early access for Assassin's Creed would put it on the 11th. If the people that buy like the $100 or the $130 version.
Mm.
And I think it will overshadow Avowed greatly. And I sort of wonder, what is that could a reason why they haven't announced a release date yet, or they're being coy with it because they don't know? Do you move it to like end of November? Because I don't want Obsidian's game to get lost, because I think Avowed's going to be good. And it's like you can't really move it forward because Call of Duty's sitting there, and you can't necessarily move it back because you already have your own game. Plus, December is supposed to be Indiana Jones. So, what do you do with Avowed? I don't know.
Kovic Crow chat says cancel Indie. I don't care about it. So there you go. There's your solution.
Yeah, there's your solution. Cancel Indiana Jones because he doesn't care about it. Yes.
That's a genuine problem. I honestly don't know what I'd do in that situation, because it's like,
because you could say don't worry about it, release it. The 35 million, 40 million, 45 million they might have, or say 40 million they have, like, oh, they'll be played on Game Pass and it's right there. And that is true, but, you know.
The industry's just cooked, man. There's just not enough people for all the games that are coming out.
So I just say, do you leave it where it is and hope word of mouth and reviews push it and it has a long life cycle? and Assassin's Creed doesn't hurt it that much, or does Indiana Jones get delayed? And because Indiana Jones get delayed, maybe you could move Avowed into December while Indiana Jones comes out in, say, March or something. I'm just kind of curious what you do with a game like that, because it kind of also goes into a discussion we were having earlier about what do you do with Grand Theft Auto, where it comes out. You know, you want Fable to be a hit, but I would say you don't want to release Fable anywhere close to Gears or to GTA. So it's kind of this problem Xbox has is there's a ton of games coming out that they're having, but you come into holidays and they're going to be way bigger games than your own sometimes. And Assassin's Creed is one of the biggest franchises out there. This is a problem you run into because you have all these other release dates for all these other games, and it's like, you know, what do you do?
It's hard, man. I honestly don't know. I don't know what I'd do.
I would move
maybe,
it.
I would honestly, yeah, I would say honestly, maybe the plays to delay Avowed.
I would move it up. I wouldn't release it the 12th because Assassin's Creed is the 15th, so I would move it up a week to the 5th if I could, which is a week after Call of Duty and the week before Assassin's Creed. And if I couldn't do that, I would delay it to
I'm honestly thinking
the week of Thanksgiving. I don't know.
What about delay it to next year? I mean, get out of the way completely. What's coming in February?
I mean, I suppose you could. I suppose you could delay it to next year and say, "Oh, it's coming in January." But you know, normally I would say, "Oh, just delay it to like the 19th or the following week." But that's when Microsoft Flight Sim comes out. Maybe they still could because those games aren't really going to compete with each other.
I don't think Flight Sim overlaps with Avowed.
Or maybe release it like the you know, the 19th or the 26th. Maybe release it the 26th. But that's like Thanksgiving week, I think. I think maybe the best solution, course of action for it would be if Indiana Jones had to get delayed, and then you could put Avowed in December, and I don't know. That's just it's. I mean,
I kind of feel like it's more complicated with Indiana Jones because you got Disney breathing down your neck.
Yeah, that is true. You do have Disney bringing down your neck, so
like I would delay Indiana Jones probably for Avowed. But I think with the Disney aspect, you probably have to delay Avowed.
Anyways,
I don't know.
We had a trailer for Stalker 2. It looks really good. I'm just not sure it's the game for me. I heard Stalker games are pretty goddamn hardcore. But it is coming out September 5th. September 5th is like early September's packed with games. You get like Astrobot and Stalker 2 and Age of Mythology and Warhammer 40K. Space Marine 2, Test Drive Unlimited. There's like, if you go look, like the beginning of September is absolutely packed with games.
Yeah.
And then
hang on, when's Stalker coming out?
September 5th.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yep. And the day before is Age of Mythology, and the day after is Astrobot, and then 2 days after that is Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2. And I think like the week before all that is Star Wars Outlaws.
But isn't Dragon Age this year as well?
Dragon Age is this year, but we don't know when. All they said is fall 2024.
I think Dragon Age is going to land in September as well.
Well, that might be the reason why Starfield didn't have a release date for its DLC, is maybe they're not sure when Dragon Age is going to hit. So they're trying to play coy with Shattered Space and when it's going to release, because you probably don't want to release Shattered Space around the time as another new RPG is out.
Yeah, but Dragon Age and Avowed as well in the same year. That just kind of enhances my opinion that Avowed should get delayed.
Well, I think there's enough room between September and November where you could be fine. They're not on top of one another. This isn't like Starfield and Baldur's Gate 3 that were essentially a month apart.
And also, this Dragon Age isn't going to be this sort of bloated open world thing. It's going to have an end,
which is good. I like that. That appeals more to me. No open world. Like, that's honestly, like, the more I hear about Dragon Age, the more it appeals to me.
Did you not know that?
No, I did know that. I'm just saying, the more I hear about it, the more it appeals to me. Like, oh, no open world, no switching the teammates. Looks like fantasy Mass Effect. Makes me more interested in the game.
Yeah, it's been described as fantasy Mass Effect to me.
which is cool. But maybe the biggest shocker of the show, Jez, is when Sarah Bond come on. She talked about the new hardware, which we already talked about. And then she did the one more thing, and they tinged the world premiere screen red, which was great because you knew what was coming. And bro, you need to go if anybody listening still hasn't seen my reaction to this or whatever, you haven't, go back to watch the live stream and just see I'm like, what is this? Because as soon as Marcus gets tackled by the Locust, I'm like, wait a minute, that's a young Marcus. That's not old Marcus. What is this?
Yeah, at first I was like, oh my god, this is like the Gears collection.
Yeah, then I was like, is this the Gears collection? Is this a remake of Gears 1? But then I was told that there was no Gears collection at the show. So I was like, it can't be Gears because the person told me, and the guy's always correct, that it's not here. So I was like, is this a flashback within Gears 6 or something? And then, dude, the trailer is so fucking good.
I had no idea what this was. I was like, because everyone knew Gears was going to be at the show.
Sure,
everyone.
Yes.
It was widely rumored.
Very widely rumored.
I put in my predictions piece. I knew that Gears was going to be here in some format.
But you didn't expect it to be this. We all thought it was going to be Gears 6.
Yeah, I don't know a single person who knew, who was even claimed to know.
I think Tom Warren has claimed to know. I think he's kind of hinted that he knew or something, because people were calling him out, and you said Gears 6 is going to be there, and he's like, in my reporting on Verge, I said a new Gears game. I didn't say 6 or whatever.
Well, fair enough.
But I don't know. But yes, there were no talks of a Gears prequel at all.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, but I think it's fantastic. I think this was it was just an amazing trailer. I really like. I always want to see gameplay before I call something game of the show and stuff for me. And I do think State of Decay gave us some hints of gameplay a little bit more than this trailer did. But when it comes to setting tone, I think this was so good. There's so many subtleties in the way this was presented to hint at what we can expect from the full game. For the key art with the different, there's defined areas, very clearly defined areas in the key art, for example, which kind of hint at the different locations that are going to be playable. There's also the sort of the Locust sort of soft redesign where it's like, okay, this is a monstrous kind of creature. There's no weapon. He's trying to kill Marcus with his bare hands, like a bestial, raking his face and stuff. Which sort of, goes back to them saying they want to emphasize how people felt when the Locust first emerged, and they had no idea what they were dealing with. These subterranean reptilian, invaders out of nowhere. And this was just after the Pendulum Wars. I think they said it's 2 months after the Pendulum Wars.
Right after the Pendulum Wars.
So everyone was like, "Oh, great! Everything's going to be great now. We've finally got peace, and everything's going to be, hunky dory." And it's like, "Oh wait, no. There's basically aliens invading from underground." So there's just this sort of despair and hopelessness that sort of permeates Gears, and they're getting all the way back to that, almost back to basics in a way. I love that. I absolutely love that. And I met with the team.
Yes, you did. You had a great interview. Yep.
Thank you very much.
Great work. Teasing multiplayer.
Yeah, they I wasn't supposed to ask that, but I sort of snuck it in there. But yeah, I thought it was just fantastic. I don't know. There's not much more to say about it.
Well, dude, so when the reveal came that it was Gears E-Day, and I sat there and I'm like, Emergence Day, I immediately was like, oh, I'm fucking in. I'm all the way in on this. Right? And because it's something we heard about in the games, but we never got to experience it, because Gears 1 is something like 14 years after Emergence Day. So it's always one of those oh, how bad it was and how horrible it was. Mm-hmm. And it's like, dude, Gears was at its peak when it was Marcus and Dom. and it's like, okay, you're gonna do Marcus and Dom again, and get to the story that everybody's wanted to see, where it's the horror of these aliens invading from underground and how cool that could be to experience. And I guess there's the other side of this, which is, okay, what about the cliffhanger on 5? And do we ever see that revolved in Gear 6? And well, like, is there ever going to be a Gear 6 and get finish that storyline, Kate's story, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to make a bold prediction right now. I think we never go. I think they never do Gear 6. I think they never go back to it. I think it's.
Well,
I know what they've said. I know what they've said, but I think they will. They're never going to go back to it. I disagree. I think it's done and dusted. I think we never go back to Kate and JD and Dell. I think if Gears E-Day is successful, you're just going to have a Gears E-Day 2 and then a Gears E-Day 3, because there's so many stories that you can tell within that 14-year time frame to catch up with Gears 1. I think we never see Gears 6 ever.
I can't disagree more. I think like they did say in my interview that they're not abandoning Gears 6.
Of course. Of course they're going to say that. Of course.
No, but they're not going to lie. I think I don't think you abandon Gear 6 because it was so close to being resolved. I don't think you leave that shit on a cliffhanger.
I don't think people care though. That's the thing.
I don't care if people don't care. They're not going to leave it like that.
Okay.
What I think is they're gonna. I think what they're doing with E-Day is because they're setting up something for Gear 6. They're telling some aspects of a story that need to be explained in order to tell something they want to tell in Gear 6. And the reason for that is because I know they plan the story out really far in advance.
I'll say this, though. I do not see a scenario in which Gears E-Day is successful and then they go back to Gear 6.
I think they will, because people aren't playing these games.
It's just my prediction. It's just my prediction.
What's wrong?
I don't think they're... Bro, you think about when this is coming out, 2026. You think about how long it took them to get from Gears 5 to this, right? So you figure 4 to 5 years for each AAA development game. So this comes out in 2026. The next Gears game, you're already pushing 2030. And if Gears E-Day is successful, you're going to have a sequel to it. And then if that one's...
the sequel will be Gears 6, man.
No, I do not think so. I think the sequel will be Gears E-Day 2.
Nah.
I'm telling you, Jez.
Nah.
I don't think we'll ever see Gears 6.
We will.
Right.
Guarantee. I guarantee.
What does chat think? Does chat think we'll see Gears 6? Who are you siding with here, me or Jez?
I will bet you $500.
I do not think. Here's the thing. I do not think you need to tell a whole game about Emergence Day to explain some plot point that you might have to show in Gears 6, because that could be done through a flashback. You don't need an entire game to explain something that could happen in a future game. I'm sorry, I don't agree with that.
They were probably just like, oh, well, actually, we need to have a flashback for this, but this is a really interesting story. Maybe we should tell it.
Well, I mean, they have new leadership. Rod Ferguson is no longer there. Somebody else is in charge. They talked about how this is a new direction for the studio and stuff, where it could very well be like, look, I'm
telling you, they ain't abandoning Gears 6.
I'm telling you, I would not be surprised if it is. And honestly, I'm going to say they are. I'm saying there is going to be no Gears 6.
Well, it's cool to be wrong sometimes.
I mean, what if I already know?
You don't, because they're not abandoning Gears.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see when we're doing this podcast in 2040 and the next game is another sequel to Gears E-Day. Jez is going to be like, what? Okay, you know how Gears 6 could happen? If they farm it out to another studio. There you go. That's how Gears 6 could happen. But I don't think Coalition would do it. They won't be the lead developers on it.
Nah, Gears 6 will happen, bro.
I don't know. A lot can happen between now and then. Everybody thought Gears 6 was going to be the game that ended, was going to be at the show, and it's a prequel that nobody talked about. And
maybe just Gears doesn't exist by then.
Well, one of the other things that I wanted to mention was you always get on Xbox about their lack of nostalgia. And boy, did Gears E-Day bring back that nostalgia in full force for people. Mm-hmm. and you realize that maybe this is something. I don't know. Just watching people that were kind of like, oh, how many reactions I watch of people that were like, yeah, I dropped off of Gears after 3. I didn't care for the new storyline. And like the videos of people crying at the reveal of this, which I think is a little over the top. Whatever to get in the compilation video, I suppose. But it's like, I was, because Gears.
I cry? Because I can't.
I mean, some people can cry in command, but when Gears 6 comes out, when Gears E-Day comes out in 2026, it'll be the 20th anniversary of Gears 1. 20 years. So for a lot of people, Gears 1 is that nostalgia. Like, they played it when they were kids because the 360 was their first console, or they played it when they were in high school or early college, and now you're 20 years older and you have kids of your own. So to see Gears and to see Marcus and Dom come back, to have that bromance, that co-op experience that you had when you were 15 or when you were 22, and it's back now with these characters that you care about. I think that's massive. That's one of the reasons why I think they're done with Gears 6.
I don't think Gears was ever big enough to warrant abandoning Gears 5. I think it's always been a cult classic, and I don't think they're really losing anything necessarily. I do think there's potential to do games like E-Day 2 and stuff like that. I asked that in my interview. I was like, is this the start of another trilogy? And they're like, we don't know yet. We're focusing on this. But I don't think they would tell me they're not abandoning Kate's story.
Because it would be a bad. Okay, I'll tell you why they wouldn't say that.
Guy, like they've got old Marcus in it. They could just put the focus back on old Marcus if that was the issue. The issue, because like Kate was only the main character for one game.
Sure,
sure. It was JD in the other one.
Sure, I'm saying
if the story there's the issue, they can just refocus it on Marcus again.
Look, I think this is a great idea. I love the fact they're doing E-Day, right? And I could be wrong, but I also saying like,
wrong.
Just maybe I am. But how often is Rand wrong? Hardly ever, really. Most of the time.
A lot of times.
But you're saying they would say it if they were done with it. I would say no, because that's bad PR. Because you aren't going to ruin a great moment where you're being like, this is a new direction of our franchise, and we're going back to, what made it special, that people love about it, and then say, oh, by the way, we're fucking done with our current storyline, and then have that bad PR on top of that, so people look at it and are like, oh, no.
You don't lie like that in PR because it'll come back to bite you in the ass.
Bro. Phil Spencer said that Xbox is the reason they bought Bethesda was Xbox, that those games would they did it for exclusives, and that Bethesda games would only that was changed, bro. Hashtag
changed.
Things
the entire industry has changed.
I'm just saying.
It's just Gears. It's not that big of a deal.
What is true in 2024 and 2026 may not be true in 2030, dude.
Gears E-Day is not going to be that vastly more popular than Gears 5 to warrant abandoning Gears 5. That's my argument.
Well, I mean, if it's not going to be that more popular, then why even bother doing Gears in the first place? Just do something brand new.
Because nostalgia, baby.
I know nostalgia, but if the idea...
It's a cult game. It's a cult classic, And I think, like, Gears fans are always going to play Gears.
Sure.
Or not play Gears, People know what to expect of Gears, and they'll know if this is the game for them or not. But anyway, we've discussed this a lot.
Yes. Let's
move on.
Yes. Well, I mean that's pretty much the show, and well, we're gonna get some super chats, and we're gonna do some Patreon stuff, and then we're gonna get out of here because tomorrow we got Xbox 2+1 with the special guest, which should be a lot of fun, and then Friday we'll be back. Have another podcast, so that'd be great. I probably might make some videos to explain why Jez is wrong about everything here. I also like trolling Jez, so you also got to think about that. So we have a super chat here from Dizzy who says, "Hi, what happened with those Avowed Indiana Jones previews on June 10th? What do you think about Avowed? Early Metacritic predictions. Great show, guys." Maybe there was some... I don't know. Were there supposed to be Avowed Indiana Jones previews? because I know they previewed Replaced and
I
Stalker 2 at Summer Games Fest.
honestly don't know. I think there was some mixed crossed wires about some of the reporting there.
Okay.
But I don't know anyone that has previewed those games unless it was like a super limited preview that the embargo hasn't lifted yet. But I would have thought the embargo would have lifted by now. I don't know.
I don't know. Early Metacritic editions, I have no idea what it's going to be. Just wait to see when the game comes out. Grandman with the 2. Jez is hiding the name of the next Xbox. No, I don't think he is.
I don't think even Microsoft knows right now. They usually decide that stuff later at a later date.
Xbox expansion pass, Mr. Insipid Ghost with the 2. You guys rock. Thank you, Luke. Did you meet up with the Insipid Ghost, Luke, at the
I did.
Yeah.
We hung out at the Yard House.
RRD with the 2 says E-Day should be the next gen with the special console. I mean, I think it's probably gonna end up being around at that point. I would imagine it's a launch title for the next console, but it's gonna be cross-gen most likely. So at that point, what does it even really matter? But that's my guess. Is it's a 2026 game. Blue Jay with the 199 says, my main game was COD. Round-based zombies is back. A lot of people excited about round-based zombies coming back because I think the last couple were open world zombies.
You know, I didn't realize that the zombies mode has a really high-quality story behind it. Did you know this? Like, the zombies has a story. I did not know this, so I'm intrigued to try that
out. We have All Hail Me with the 499. Do you think that after this Xbox Showcase, PlayStation will bring it for their showcase, and do they have to if Xbox plans on bringing games over? I don't know what PlayStation's doing. Do they have to? No, they do just fine, just doing whatever they're doing. I don't really think PlayStation is going to be like, well, Xbox had a good show, so we have to show more of our stuff. PlayStation marches. They I don't know. They're gonna do what they're planning on doing. So the games that they're going to show are the stuff that they're going to be planning on showing. You're not going to be able to they're not going to be able to go to Naughty Dog and be like, make us a trailer in 2 months for something that they weren't playing just because Xbox had a good show. I don't think.
PlayStation has the casual audience now, and they don't need to push as hard as Xbox does. But I will, PlayStation's probably like keeping an eye on things, but it's like Phil said last year, kind of funny. It's like there's nothing they can do now. It's just everyone's sort of locked into the platforms they're locked into, and console isn't growing anymore. So it doesn't matter what PlayStation does.
I don't think that's really what he's saying. It's just like I've seen this sentiment that PlayStation has to bring it now for the next showcase. And I don't think that's the case. They're going to show what they're ready to show. They're going to show what they're ready to show. And, so it'll either be good or it won't. I sort of wonder how Jeff Keighley feels because his Summer Games Fest got rocked with like a 40% D, while this Xbox show is probably the highest rated show he's ever done poll-wise. I think it was like a 66% A, 25% B or whatever it was. It was basically 90% or like A or B, which is kind of absurd and ridiculous when most of these shows end up usually C or Ds. So, Joaquin with the 499. So likes were hidden 2 days early because now we know Sean Layden hates Phil's guts. Very weird for Mr. Tencent. Yeah, good old Sean Layden. We talked about that earlier. Grandman with the 2. Would you guys be hyped for a Final Fantasy X3? Not.
Final Fantasy what?
10-3. It's like a sequel to 10-2. Yeah, not really.
I never played 10-2. Was that the game where there were dancers?
Yes, where you change costumes. Yeah.
Yeah, I never played that. I thought it looked weird when I was a kid. I was like, I don't want to be a dancer. But I don't know. I'd honestly love to see remakes of more classic Final Fantasy games. Like, supposedly Final Fantasy 3 and Final Fantasy 9's being remade, supposedly.
Yes, it is.
So, Final Fantasy 10 would be a candidate for a remake, I think. So maybe you like.
What about Final Fantasy 6?
Oh god, yeah. Oh god, yeah.
Yeah.
Inject into my veins.
iSolar 18 with the 499. Mr. Jez, did you know Mr. Rand had a secret viewing of a Fallout remake?
Oh damn.
That's
Did
not
you really?
true. No. And he says, Mr. Rand, Jez needs to beat Persona first before this new turn-based. Yeah, I mean, I think
Oh.
we've all come to basically expect Jez not to finish Persona. We know that's not happening. But I mean,
I'll
that's a good
finish it.
thing. You got to finish it before Expedition 33. Empress Murderous 13 says BioWare's KOTOR, Mass Effect, and Dragon Age. I miss the old KOTORs. Yeah, for me,
Yeah.
BioWare's Mass Effect because they don't do KOTOR anymore. So,
What happened to that KOTOR remake? Do we know what's going on with that now?
it was given to Saber, I think.
Saber.
So we'll see what happens with it if it
Saber,
ever sees the light of day.
Yeah, Saber spun out from
Embracer.
Embracer Group.
Yeah.
Embracer Group, yeah.
Dead Planet
Lucky
with
for
the
them.
10. Colin said it's weird to see the Gears hype because that franchise isn't the big hitter people think it is. I kind of think that's bullshit. Gears is just as able to make a comeback now as God of War was in 16.
I agree.
I sort of feel that people. So he says that it's weird to see the Gears hype because the franchise isn't a big hitter that people think it is. What does one got to do with the other? Gears was huge at one point, and now you're bringing back the characters that people care about from the time when it was huge, and you don't see why people aren't hyped about that, even if the Gears has kind of it's not as widely talked about as the first three. I don't think one has to do with the other here. Why can't people be hyped about a return to when Gears was at its highest level?
It's also hard to manage measure hype. How do you quantitatively measure hype?
I don't know. I mean, you can YouTube views, likes, polls and stuff. I mean, there's ways to quantify it to a certain extent. But I just saying, like, it's weird to see people hype for Gears because it's not a big hitter. I don't really follow the logic on that one. People are hyped because it's a return to when Gears was the big hitter. Because it was Gears 2006 and 2008 and 2011, like, it was massive. It only kind of went down in recent years. Could Gears make a comeback? Sure. Will it make a comeback? We'll see. Maybe the nostalgia play will be in its favor. Andy Pro with the 2. Current gen COD only bundles same year as GTA 6. Potentially. And Noob Sabat with the 5. Jez, have you seen the blood mod for Starfield? You can now leave people in pools of blood. There you go, Jez.
I need more than that, man. I need to be able to blast someone's brains out in zero gravity. Such a missed opportunity there, man.
Is it though? Is it really?
Yeah, it is. It is. Gore makes every game better. Every genre of game is improved with gore, even sports games.
Okay, let me try to get some of these Patreon questions. If you guys do us a big favor, make sure you hit the like button, please. Subscribe if you're new. We appreciate everyone who tuned into the show today, who's going to listen to it later on iTunes and Spotify. If you're listening to us there, make sure you leave us a like, rate the show, leave us a review. Those always help greatly. So let me see. We get to the questions over here. Oh, here we go. We got some questions, Jez. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. We got Sillet Bang 007. I was blown away by South the Midnight gameplay trailer. Does Jez get any more info on the game or see anything behind closed doors that he can talk about?
I did not, unfortunately. I didn't. I don't
think there was
much.
I'm pretty sure there wasn't any South of Midnight behind closed doors stuff. So
no, I don't think that was. Yeah, I don't think that was. I don't know much more about it. I'm kind of flying blind, so we'll find. I'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Keep in mind we'll be having another show later this week to talk about some of the other stuff that is happening and has happened. We just wanted to talk about the showcase, and I knew it was going to take a while to get through our thoughts about it. We would have done this show last week, but Jez was dying. So
Yes.
that's why the show is strictly just about the showcase. The rest of the stuff we'll talk about on Friday. Laser Wolf. Jez, what was the best game you played at Summer Games Fest or got to see a demo of?
That's easy as hell. Monster Hunter Wilds.
Okay.
And I'll talk about it. I'll talk about it in more depth next week when we go over like the stuff I did play and get hands on with. But Monster Hunter Wilds was absolutely fantastic. They showed it behind closed doors and like some live gameplay. The developer was hands on with it. I also interviewed the devs. I've got an interview for that coming out probably tomorrow, actually. Yeah, Monster Hunter Wilds is getting to a completely new level, next level. Everything about it was improved. Immersion and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, Monster Hunter Wilds, absolutely out of my mind hype for that.
I'm not surprised. Not shocking. Dave Ramos, Rand, what a great book. I brought Project Hail Mary with me on my trip to India and finished reading while away. Wow. There were so many lines in the script that had me rolling, and the story was captivating. Thanks for the recommendation, sir, and if it's okay with you, I may come back for another recommendation for my next business trip. First book I completed in 20 years, Project Hail Mary. I mean, it's a fantastic book. It's why when people come to me and say, hey, give me a recommendation, it's the one I always recommend because it's not a series, so you don't have to commit to 5 books. It's standalone science fiction from the, writer of The Martian, so, it's good. And I don't know if you've heard, but they started filming the movie. Ryan Gosling is playing the main character, and it's being directed by, I forget who it's being directed by, but I cannot wait for that. So, yes, Project Hail Mary is incredible, and I'm glad you liked it. Achievement says, don't you think a Gears of War Remastered would make more sense to release after a prequel? Then they could remake each one and put a lot of care into it. I have seen people say that if they're doing a prequel, well, Gears Collection makes a lot of sense after the prequel. Which...
that scans.
Yeah. We'll have to see, though. We'll see. I mean, it does kind of make sense. Okay, you're going to do a prequel and then do collection. But we'll see if that's actually the roadmap and what they plan to do. We'll even see if the Gears collection is real. For all we know, maybe it's not. I have no idea. Silas says, good day, Rand and California Jez. With all the 2025 games that Xbox previewed at the show, do they have to take special care releasing a game in the fall holiday period if GTA 6 launches? I could see games like a Horizon 6 or COD being fine because they're vastly different types of games, but if I had Fable, which shares some GTA underpinnings, like an open world, light RPG mechanics, and humor, I would be concerned about the game being drowned by all the GTA hype. Yeah, we sort of talked about that, but I absolutely agree. You're going to have to be very, very careful about when you release your game.
Yeah.
Presumably, you'd want to release it before GTA 6, right? Like a good amount of time before. But yes, everyone's going to be very cautious about their release dates until GTA 6 has a firm one, right?
Yeah.
Gucci Cheese says, okay, now that Xbox has crushed it with the showcase this week, we are now in the Xbox is great phase of the cycle. What do you think they will mess up next week to make everyone say Xbox is dead again? As is the circle of life. That is the meme how it goes. One week, Xbox is dead. The next week, Xbox is back. Then Xbox is dead. Then Xbox is back. So we're at the point now where Xbox is back, baby. Oh, we never left. So what happens to say the Xbox is dead? As it is written, as it's been foretold.
They'll, I don't know. They'll merge Ninja Theory into the Coalition or something.
Oh, God.
And then screw Rand over and no more Hellblade ever again.
Well,
Sorry, Rand.
As I said before...
That was a joke, by the way,
I know.
before anyone goes and reports it.
I always did say I wasn't sure if you needed to do a sequel to Hellblade 1. I mean, they went and did one anyways, and I'm grateful for it because I really like the game. But I felt at the time when I finished Hellblade 1, you didn't necessarily need to do a sequel.
Mm.
Ford Brand says, how's it going, gents? Do you think the mindshare is starting to shift toward Xbox? I'm starting to sense PlayStation fans are noticing what Xbox is doing and are interested. Maybe the next hardware will have a 360 impact. But who knows, right? Have a good weekend, fellas. And Jez, we got to hop on 76 with Trent Super and Caboose soon. The expansion is crazy fun.
Yeah, man. Trent Super and Caboose and those dudes, they're awesome. We got a nice little Fallout 76 community on the Xbox 2 Discord, which you can join at discord.gg/XB2. But yeah.
I mean, I definitely see PlayStation fans talking about it more, but PlayStation fans are always talking about Xbox, so it's not that much of a shock. You know?
I've noticed that like some of the notorious fanboys have actually given Xbox flowers recently.
Well, they have to,
You know.
because the show was that good and it's delivered on exactly what they want PlayStation to deliver on. A roadmap with looks at the game. So yeah, not all of them are.
Like, if you keep doing this, and keep delivering and keep,
Yes,
stick to this sort of level of quality, then it could start having an impact.
it could.
But I also think like a lot of the discourse now revolves around what's Gen Z gonna do? What's Gen Z gonna do? And I'm also really intrigued about what Call of Duty going into Game Pass could do. That could like really change the way that people potentially think about how they access premium games. Because like Call of Duty is expensive, right? It's £70 in the UK, which is a lot of money, especially in today's economic climate. So like, if you're telling me that I can potentially get this and all the other games for much more affordably, that could have a big impact, And then also to keep with the strong cadence of like high quality stuff and working hard to maintain that. Yeah, I think we could see some shift, but I think like the days of like the way things shifted to Xbox 360 and shifted back to PS4, I think those days are gone. I think people are just mostly, for the most part, they're digitally locked in, and otherwise they fancy going to PC where they know that PC will live on in perpetuity. So yeah, so we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out.
Okay. We have Infinity DOK with Perfect Dark, State of Decay 3, and Gears E-Day don't have platforms listed. Do you think this is because they are next-gen titles?
I think that might be reading a bit too much into it, maybe.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and watch, but I don't think Fable's trailer last year had platforms listed either. I'd have to go back and watch, or State of Decay, or South of Midnight's. But yeah, people did mention that it didn't have platforms listed. Is that because it's next gen? Maybe, but we would expect anything to launch on next gen to also be cross gen anyways. So I don't know. Maybe it's just, hey, if we're not putting a year on it, then we're not going to have platforms on it. Could that be what it is? Cbot says, hi guys, hope you're both well, and big thank you for all the extra content you made in and around the showcase. While I thought the showcase was very good overall, it was a little disappointing that after committing to showing Japanese titles over the past few years, there wasn't any presence outside of Metal Gear Solid. It was a little unusual to see nothing from Sega, Bandai Namco, or Capcom. Square Enix, who only recently talked up a new partnership with Xbox, only showed a little published title from a Western studio. Do you think Xbox is cooled a bit on the push for Japanese content? It feels like it may have slipped down the list of priorities a little. We interestingly saw 2 Chinese titles from studios I'd never heard of before, so I'd imagine the battle for screen time at these showcases is only going to get tougher. Well, they could have had probably ReFantasio Metaphor, the Atlas game, but that was at Summer Games Fest because Xbox marketing was all over that. But I don't think that that's an indication that there's going to be less content. I think it's an indication that Xbox is going to be focusing more of their own stuff, because you had 17 first-party studio games there out of 30. When has that ever happened before for any platform holder? I couldn't tell you a time where any of them showed off 17 of their own games. Of their own games essentially either releasing new content or releasing in the next 2 years. That's probably never happened. So that doesn't leave you with a lot of time to showcase other stuff. So I don't think that's it's an issue. Do you think it's an issue, Jez? Do you think that's an indication that there's gonna be less Japanese content or whatever?
Well, I did say that, you know, one of my disappointments was that there was a lack of Japanese stuff there. I don't think it means they're pulling back on it. I think it's just the timelines didn't line up maybe or something along those lines. I think you're going to see more Japanese stuff in the future. I don't think they're pulling back from Japan at all.
Yeah. Batman Beyond says, "Hey guys, do we really have to wait to 2026 for Forza Horizon 6? Maybe. I mean, it's either next year or 2026 at this point. I'll put my... I know it's like tough to really say about, oh, they're really going to release Fable and Forza Horizon next year? But then I also wonder if you're really going to have that long of a dev cycle for the next Forza Horizon game. So, the thing with Forza Horizon is they don't need to reveal it until that year. So, I don't know. I feel like it's next year. I mean, I guess it's going to be done when it's done. But I feel like waiting all that time for a game that's basically going to be... I guess this is kind of being reductive. But Forza Horizon really doesn't change much in between releases. And it's sort of been... You can make the argument that Forza Horizon 4 and 5 are just Forza Horizon 3.5 and 3.7, right? So you don't really... Like, unless they're really significantly changing what the game is, it's like, do you really need all that extra time? So, I don't know. I think it's going to be next year, personally.
I agree.
Nate Miller says, State of Decay 3, finally! I can't wait to see how complex the community systems are on Unreal Engine 5. That showcase was amazing. I was into about 90% of what I saw. It was great. Trickstar for Trey says, where's the back compat? If this has been answered, then my question is, do you think we see even more games at Gamescom and TGS? I think we'll see more games at TGS and Gamescom, but I guess, yeah, the back compat stuff. So, Jez, what's up with the ABK stuff in Game Pass? Because I think we both thought the ABK Game Pass stuff would start that day. And they haven't said anything about it. I don't know if you've talked to anybody at... I mean, I don't know if you've talked to anybody at Xbox after the show, but where's all the games from Game Pass? What's going on? Why is it only Diablo 4 is the only one that's been in Game Pass, and they've closed on it in October? Like, what is taking so long? Like, what is...
Honestly, I don't know. I think like there's probably some concern about cannibalization. I mean, if you suddenly dump like a mountain of Activision games into Game Pass,
right?
Like that impacts your partner's games, that impacts your own games. So I want to believe they're probably being really strategic about where they put this stuff in. Maybe they keep it for a rainy day, because I think like the amount of content they've got coming on the slate potentially, I think there is a fear of cannibalization, and Game Pass is very curated. You know, it's not like Spotify where they just give you every single song in existence. This is like they want to curate it because they want every game to have an opportunity to shine. Whereas like, you know, Spotify is just like, you know, it's a free for all, right? So it's very curated, and I think they're probably being very strategic about it. I know people want it all now and stuff, but yeah. We'll see. I'll try and find out something more concrete.
It is weird. I guess you could... I don't really see any issue of like, why isn't put the Spyro game in Game Pass or the Crash games? I think it would be more like all the Call of Duty games, and maybe they don't want all the Call of Duty games in Game Pass before they put the brand new one in there. I mean, maybe that's a concern they have. But I can't imagine any other content would be like, oh, well, we're worried about what Crash is going to do if we put Crash in there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no idea what's going on with that. Who knows? CJ says, hey, gents, I'm sure there'll be plenty of different questions about the showcase this week, so I just want to say how great it is to see Rand doing videos again and seemingly back in the groove. Loving the work, brother. Well, thank you. it was fun to make those videos. I hope people enjoyed them. Hopefully I can make some more this week. At least one more, maybe two. Depends on tomorrow we got Xbox 2+1. So maybe I can get something for Wednesday, or maybe do something tomorrow after the show. We'll see. But it was nice doing those videos, and I appreciate everybody watching them and taking the time out of their day to watch that stuff. We got Sick and Tired says, "Hi, men. I think Microsoft is forgetting the value of pushing their console over selling games on PlayStation. Sony might release 1 or 2 exclusives a year if they're lucky, yet they still have more revenue than all of Xbox, Bethesda, and ABK combined. They beat out all of COD, Minecraft, WoW, King, mobile games like Candy Crush, etc. All that revenue is coming from the 30% cut they take from everything sold on PlayStation. It's worth far more than selling their own games, and protecting that is Sony's #1 priority. This is what Microsoft appears to be forgetting, foregoing for the short-term game sale on PlayStation. P.S. Jez, while Rand sorts out his book podcast, I'm ready for you to launch your UFO one."
I really want to do a UFO podcast, man.
I know you do. He'll hit up Fonz. He's got that, podcast out there about crazy stuff.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, we talked at length about Microsoft and they're putting games elsewhere and the reasonings behind it, and I don't think either of us are fans of it whatsoever, and we all think it's short-term game for forsaking long-term stuff. Yeah. But I don't run the company. I don't have the numbers. I don't have the spreadsheets. I don't have their P&L. I don't know what their budgets are. I can only speak as it from a fan. What do I know? I don't know. I just know I'm not a fan of it. I think eventually it'll do more harm than good, but maybe it won't. Maybe it's really good. But
yeah, I think me and Rand are we're just at this point where it's like they're not going to change course. So you either have to just sort of go on a crusade and just go crazy on social media about it all the time and make it your whole sort of life, or if you actually just still enjoy playing on the platform, just sort of be like, well, it is what it is. Let's wait and see what happens. Maybe Microsoft's right. Problem is Microsoft's been wrong so many times about its plans like this, and they've often had this short-term mindset, and it's bit them in the ass repeatedly.
Yep,
we're seeing that play out right now with AI. Their short-term thinking is.
I saw Apple laughed at them or something.
Yeah, Apple was mocking them because their AI features suck.
Dude, did they get cucked by Sam Altman and OpenAI?
They did.
It's kind of crazy when you think about it.
Sam Altman's a genius. He's got both Apple and Microsoft. So
Apple's not paying him shit. They're paying him an exposure, huh?
Yeah, so Sam Altman's logic is that, well, it's weird, right? Because Apple will use OpenAI as their default stuff. So presumably Sam Altman's thinking, okay, well, that means we'll get more subscribers to we'll get more subscribers for ChatGPT Plus or whatever they call it, right? And Microsoft has the rights to 50% of the cut. Microsoft has a 50% cut of that in exchange for providing the backend. So it's not like Microsoft doesn't benefit from this in a sort of indirect way, but it's just also funny that Apple's sort of playing kingmaker here and controlling the destiny, because Microsoft has a short-term thinking mindset. Microsoft had its own mobile platform, this wouldn't be happening.
Yeah,
and that's why when it comes to Xbox, some of the doom and gloom is often from people who've been around and watched Microsoft fuck up repeatedly over the last 10 years with regards to some of this stuff, because their monetization culture, their financial culture, Amy Hood and all that, they're often just thinking about, okay, let's think about the next quarter. Let's think about the next quarter. When really, that's not a good way of thinking about tech. I don't think. You need to be thinking about, what about the next fiscal year or the year after that? What's it going to look like if we get rid of this stuff now because it's not working today? It could work tomorrow and it could be incredibly lucrative. But I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. There's just no point complaining or worry about it now, because there's just no way of changing it. Why worry about something you've got no control over? So we'll see how it all plays out. I will say that in LA, I did speak to, high up people about this, and I was just like, "You're making a mistake. You're making a mistake," sort of joking around about it. And I just keep getting assured that, like, if it does start, hurting the Xbox footprint on console, they've suggested to me that they will change course. So we'll see.
Yeah. Good on Collinwood says, happy post FA E3 Rand Jez. Rand, have you mentioned that you don't download demos and prefer to play full games? Had you been in LA and at the Let's Play areas, would you have taken the opportunity to play in the demos that Jez got to play? I mean, I was at E3 before, and I didn't really check out that many stuff. Maybe a couple things here or there. I might have checked. Maybe I just would have watched. I don't know. I don't really have that much interest in playing demos personally, but I wouldn't really know until I was there. I just know when I was there at E3, I didn't check out everything. It was just a couple specific stuff. But yeah, Deadly Headley. So Jez, what's your favorite scene moment from Peep Show? And a question for both of you: if you could cast one iconic British actor, actress for a role in Fable, who would you choose?
Oh man, Helena Bonham Carter. I love Helena Bonham Carter, man.
It's funny.
Peep Show. Go on.
British. Is Ian McKellen British?
Yes.
Okay, it'd be Ian McKellen.
He is pretty awesome.
Yes.
Helena Bonham Carter would be my pick.
Okay.
I just love everything she's
What's
in.
What's your favorite meme from Peep Show? I guess.
Peep Show. Have you ever seen Peep Show, Rand?
I have no idea what Peep Show is.
Oh man, Peep Show is like one of the best British situation comedies ever made, and half the actors in Fable from Peep Show. Well, not half, but a couple. But it's just about like two fuck ups basically. One of them's like a druggie, and the other one's just like a wage slave kind of type, and. It's just about all this shit that happens to them. My favorite scene in Peep Show is when Mark's trying to avoid getting married, and they're hiding in the church because Mark doesn't want to get married. And Jez, the other character is called Jez, by the way, which is funny. And Jez needs to go to the bathroom, but Mark can't let him go to the bathroom because he's hiding. So Mark just turns to Jez and says, "You'll just have to piss yourself. Just piss yourself." And then he does.
Okay.
And it's just fucking hilarious. It's like one of my favorite scenes in comedy. But it sounds weird describing it like that, but when you know the characters and just how pathetic they are and stuff, oh man, it's just so good. You gotta watch it. It's like cringe comedy. It's just the situations that happen are just unreal, but also weirdly believable.
Paul says, not really a question, just want to thank you guys for providing me so much entertainment on my commute. Also, Claire Obscura Expedition 33 looks so awesome. Indeed it does. And thank you for supporting us, buddy. Noli says, what do you guys think about the reasoning is to not add any ABK games to Game Pass so far outside of Diablo? I think that was only to limit backlash on the multiplayer announcement. I mean, we just did talk about that.
Yeah, we did talk about that. I just think it's creation and strategy.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I'll try and get something more concrete on it.
09C Mine says, hey guys, no question this week, but just wanted to congratulate Rand on his videos. I miss watching them, and it's been great to get his take and views again. Please keep it up. I'm looking forward to new videos already. And Jez, I'm glad you're feeling better now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Monkey vs. Tramps. Amazing Xbox showcase. Rand doing videos. Are the fates almost aligned for the video camera podcast? I mean, potentially soon. I'm dealing with some things right now that, I'd rather not speak on, but that's one of the reasons why there's no video camera podcast. Lee Sanders says, evening, gents. So I have a question about Contraband and Double Fine. Yes, the showcase was packed, but what's the latest on both? If you know anything. Still find it especially baffling that Contraband has only had a title reveal. Hey, game dev's hard. And I think they really haven't been hitting their marks. We might see Contraband at Gamescom, if not next year. I think the game still is in production. But I
think next year is, if it doesn't get cancelled, probably next year.
As far as Double Fine, I mean, I think people know what their next game is. It's just a matter of when they want to reveal it. Austin H. Rand, have you ever played the game Bramble the Mountain King? If you haven't, I highly recommend it. Seems right up your alley. I can't say a ton because I think it would be better to go as blind as possible, but it's somewhat reminiscent of Little Nightmares type thing. Actually, I have heard of it, and I do own the game. I am going to play it at some point, yes, because it does seem like a game I would enjoy.
Little Nightmares is fantastic.
Yeah. Diego says, "Sup guys, the showcase was amazing. Truly one of their best shows ever. Bummed out I didn't get to see a handheld, but overall amazing. My only complaint is the Phil interview to me. Phil always says he's a gamer, he's for the developers, he's for creative freedom, but in the interview it seems he shifted to now it's about running a sustainable business. I don't know, it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way, especially from him to give such an EA type statement. What do you guys think? Love the show."
He is a CEO, and that will give you a different set of priorities, I think. You know, but I think that's Phil is a gamer. You know, you can follow him on Xbox Live. He's always playing something. But I think you're probably referring to the comment where he was like, "I have to run a profitable
shut down." Yeah.
Tango, yeah, like has to run a profitable business.
I don't really think that was a great comment, honestly, because it was very PR-y, and I mean, obviously he has to run a profitable business. Nobody says, you know, I don't know. To me, it was kind of like, if you take at face value what he's saying, like I have to run a profitable business, then the reason that those studios were shut down was because if he didn't, then their business wouldn't be profitable, right?
Yeah.
Which it'd be kind of ridiculous to assume that if you didn't shut out those 4 studios, then your whole business would be unprofitable. So I think it's just, you're not ever going to get the details about the ins and the outs about why they shut it down. So it's just like, yeah, I got to run a profitable business. It's like, okay, we get that. And that's why they do layoffs all the time. But there's got to be specific reasons why those studios in particular were targeted.
I think one of the reasons why he doesn't is because he doesn't want to be seen as throwing Tango under the bus by giving specific reasons, or like maybe his team under the bus or something like that. So, you know, it's easy to sort of.
You're right.
It's easy to, from the outside, it's easy to sort of, you know, criticize, and I think like we should criticize because at the end of the day, there's a vast amount of money being, you know, poured through Xbox and Microsoft, and a huge amount of responsibility because they've got 20,000 employees, you know, and those people have to sort of be taken care of as well. So it's important that we hold these people to account, like Phil, because, you know, there is a mountain of people he's responsible for, but also customers, you know, our libraries, our investment in the platform. But, you know, at the same time, it's kind of like, I think like if we had a more complete picture of what was going on behind the scenes, it probably would make things make a little bit more sense. But at the same time, you end up sort of maybe hurting other things. It's a different sort of line to tread, I suppose. I've definitely gotten a view of some of that since I became a manager and started seeing budgets and spreadsheets and things that I didn't see before. Like I used to have blinding arguments with my old boss, who's not at the company anymore, about all sorts of things like this. And now, like, you know, why can't we have more money? Why can't we have more budget and stuff like that? And now I see the budget sheet, I'm a little bit more like sympathetic. Yeah. But I don't know.
Rodrigo in the super chat says, insiders confuse Gears E-Day material with collection. I have seen people suggest that maybe people saying there's a Gears collection is because it was actually E-Day.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I've always said I never had a shred of evidence that
if Gears collection exists, it better be shown next year, because if it's not next year, it probably ain't real at this point. Because the Gears E-Day was going to be 2026, so it's like, well, when would you do that? But either way, that's it for the show. We got through what we needed to get through, what the show would have been, you know, on Friday last week if we did it. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to episode 320. Thank you for anybody who chatted or super chatted or left us questions in the Patreon. We love you all. We'll be back tomorrow for an Xbox 2+1. Should be a great conversation. I'll be very interested in seeing where it goes because it's gonna very opinionated person coming on. And we'll be back on Friday with another show talking about everything else that has happened. And then the following Tuesday, we'll have Paris Lily on to talk about everything. So that should be a lot of fun, too, for Xbox 2+1. So we've got 2 Xbox 2+1s back to back. But yeah, hope everybody has a great rest of the day, great rest of the week. And we will see some of you tomorrow. If you want access to that, make sure you go to patreon.com/XB2. Links in the description, all that good stuff. And yeah, take it easy, guys. Keep it gaming. And later.
Take care, everybody.